This is Racing Unleashed Beyond the Pinnacle.
Hold on to your hats. We are on the grid. Who is going to be king of the late breakers? Excellent on-board shot. Michael Speedle is throwing absolutely everything at this, including the kitchen sink.
And he is a fighter, a warrior. And look at this! Look at this!
Unglaublich!
Wow, qué pelea!
I'm loving this.
Take your hat off and give him a bow. He's already in the lead and now he can sail off into the sunset.
This is Racing Unleashed.
Well, hi everyone. A very good morning to you and welcome to our racing lounge here in Kemptal. Of course, we bring all our lounges together for this, our Racer League competition. Today, we reach race 9. Can you believe that? Where has the year gone? So, the racing lounge here in Kemptal is situated in a motor world, which means lots of vintage machinery like this really rather lovely late 1950s Mercedes 190 to look at. Among them, of course, though, the very latest state-of-the-art simulators which our drivers use, the Formula Hybrid X Evo 2022s that you can see. Absolutely wonderful simulators and will really test our drivers to the limit, as we have seen throughout the season. Another absolute exclusive is the fact that today we are racing on the Zurich Airport circuit. I say exclusive because it is absolutely exclusive to Racing Unleashed. It's a very long circuit, it's very demanding, and will push our drivers to the absolute limit. Let's find out a little bit more about the track right now with our ambassador, Mr. JWW.
So hello, welcome back to Zurich, Switzerland, and today is really special because we're racing a track that doesn't exist anywhere else. This is the Racing Unleashed Zurich Airport race circuit, and this for me is one of those USPs that sim racing is all about. Racing Unleashed have created this circuit from scratch. They've mapped the real airport in real time and created a circuit layout from it that they think will get the most optimal and exciting experience for our racers. So you got to stay tuned for it. This is truly exclusive content. It's going to test these guys to the nth degree of their skill. It's a complete blend between really high downforce flowing corners, strong braking zones and top speed straights. Don't go away. This one's going to be special.
Thank you very much. Mr. JWW then with his preview of our Zurich Airport circuit. I was alluding just a few moments ago to these state-of-the-art simulators made, of course, in Maranello exclusively for Racing Unleashed, and it's what our drivers will be using. Of course, the Racer League today, I cannot walk past these two gentlemen, though, without mentioning them. Two of the stars from our Challenger League, Ciro Zambra and Yannick Pletcher. So, guys, I've got to ask you, why are you here today?
To watch the Racer League.
Of course, and same for you, I guess, Yannick?
Definitely, to watch the Racer League and gain some experience about the other drivers who drive here.
Thank you, Yannick and Ciro Zambra then, who are both here. Now we can see that Dave Ladamada is getting ready already in the simulator. We've got the gear up session to come. So fantastic to see him getting ready. What else can we look forward to in the program today? Well, we have lots coming up, including a new collaboration with a university which is going on as we look at cognitive research and how our simulator can help that. Our CEO, Monisha Coltonborn, will be taking a look at that for us. And as if that were not enough, of course, our fitness ambassador, Mr. Ralph Muller, will be giving us even more exercises and instructions on how we can get to the absolute peak of physical perfection and make us truly stunning racing drivers. Now, having met a couple of the Challenger League drivers, let's take a look at how they got on yesterday with this really challenging circuit here, Zurich Airport. And hold on to everything that might be loose-fitting about your person as we go racing. This is Racing Unleashed. We're on board with Ciro Zambra then, who's under pressure right from the start of this race and losing out his P6 to P7 potentially here. You can see every driver jostling for position as they go into turn number 1. This is almost like a hairpin, and it is absolutely brilliant. Thomas Herzog going, of course, from that P1 position, what he needs to do is hope that everyone behind battles hard so that he can escape up the road. Thomas Herzog now under real pressure here from Ciro Zambra. Surely it's a question of when, not if, Ciro Zambra goes through, and just as we mentioned it, so he does. So Thomas Herzog relegated to P3, Ciro Zambra now up to P2. Borja Sarzo is virtually welded to the back of Fabian Mayer. So he's got the pace. Where can he make the move? He dives to the inside. Racing room is left by Fabian Mayer, who of course will have the inside for the next turn, which is advantageous and means that he can hold on to that position just for the moment. But Borja Sarzo, by keeping it around the outside, that gives him the inside for the next turn, and therefore Borja does go through on Fabian Mayer. So Ciro Zambra, another one of these drivers that looks really cool and stress-free inside the Formula Hybrid Evo X 2022 simulator. Feeling rather more pressured, I would suggest, is Joshua Hader, who we're on board with now as Ciro Zambra puts the car to the inside. So, carrying as much speed as they possibly can, they go absolutely side by side. King of the late breakers, Ciro Zambra. Well, Joshua Hader holding on to this, but Ciro Zambra does go through. So we're on board with Thomas Herzog, and you can see how Nico Farland dives to the outside. It's a long way around the outside, but if he can remain in this position, it'll give him the inside for the next turn. And he then tries to make the car a bit wide, and into the battle comes Lorenzo Hader as well. So Nico Farland goes through. Thomas Herzog now relegated to P5. We ride on board with Thomas Herzog now. 2 laps, or 1 lap plus the remainder of this lap remaining for our drivers in the Challenger League. Here's Sinan de Mervis to the outside of Thomas Herzog again. King of the late breakers around the outside, tries to go Marcus Valverde in the battle that's going on behind. But Miguel Frey holds on to that. Now Marcus Valverde has got Yannick Pletcher coming back at him. Yannick Pletcher all the way around the outside here. And this would be a brilliant move by Yannick Pletcher if he can make it work. And he does. Not quite. Because Marcus Valverde, and there was a little touch from Yannick Pletcher on Marcus Valverde. Absolutely not Valverde's fault. This means that Joshua Hader then inherits the victory. Why does he inherit the victory? Why is he so happy? It's because Ciro Zambra, as you can see, picks up a penalty which relegates him to P3. David Seed now P2. Joshua Hader, the winner then. Confirmation of that. Also picking up penalties, the likes of Yannick Schmidt, Marcus Valverde, and Valentin Gorgiev. So what does that mean? It means there is just 1 point between David Seed and Ciro Zambra as we head into the final event. It'll be round 10, of course, which comes up in Imola. So we are set for an Italian showdown in the Challenger League. Taking P3, perhaps not what Ciro expected or wanted, but it is what it is. What a truly humble young man, I have to say, as he collects his award. Well done, David Seed. Here comes our race winner then, who receives the handshake and receives the medal. And the Hader family always celebrate in fine style, and many, many congratulations to Joshua Hader then. It was an awesome, awesome race yesterday. As you've seen, we have Yannick Pletcher and Ciro Zambra here with us in the lounge today. And I was speaking to Ciro Zambra, and now with just a point in it, my goodness me, is he, that young man, motivated when we go to Imola for the next round of the Challenger League. Just a point in it. And Ciro Zambra, quietly spoken, but absolutely deadly on track. And alongside him there is Yannick Pletcher as well. And both of them having a good time of it yesterday, and very much looking forward to the final at Imola to come. So well done to all our Challenger League drivers who we saw in action yesterday around this Zurich Airport circuit then, which is something of a challenge, as JWW explained. Now, this is what's up for grabs in 2022, our huge prize money fund. And as you can see, Racer League that we are racing today, up for grabs then. If you take P1, it's $3.5 grand in your hand in terms of Swiss francs, and big money all the way down to P10. So there is absolutely everything to play for, because big money up for grabs if you are successful in the Racer League. That's not all, of course. When we get the championship all done and dusted in Imola, we still have one event to go. It is the Battle for Glory at a track to be determined. I honestly do not know where the track is and what the track is, but as you can see there, secret track. December the 11th, both the Challenger League and the Racer League drivers are in action. Please make sure you set a diary date to watch that on December the 11th. The Challenger League and the Racer League. As you can see, we are reaching the conclusion of our championship race calendar for 2022, having visited all these wonderful circuits. All we have left after this exclusive Zurich Airport circuit is Imola, which is where we are heading on the 12th and 13th of November for the Challenger League and the Racer League. Qualification for 2022. As you can see, the qualification phase starts on the 31st of October and ends on the 10th of November for our final event in our championship. Right now, we get into our gear up session. Kevin Abey, we can see here now, when it comes to the knockout qualifying, Kevin Abey is going to be starting from the back of the pack. He picks up a penalty from last time out, but he is out in our gear up session at the moment. What's a gear up session? It's effectively free practice. It enables the drivers to get to grips with this really challenging circuit here at Zurich Airport, and as I mentioned, absolutely exclusive for Racing Unleashed. And it is a real challenge, and there is Kevin Abey then, who takes the challenge right now and is currently 8th fastest. We have some 24 starters around this 7.6 kilometer Zurich Airport circuit, and Jan Teufen is another one of those, and you can see already is becoming something of a packed track. Now, no positions can be gained or lost during this FP session, during this gear up session. It is literally designed to do that, to allow the drivers to gear up and get themselves in the zone, ready to compete across this track. And Jan Teufen there making contact, as you can see, and clattering into the barriers, these Formula Hybrid X Evo 2022 cars. So Jan Teufen then, his time in the gear up session having been something compromised. Michael Schmiedl, what an absolute star this young man is, has already of course sealed P1 in terms of the Drivers' Championship. Such has been his dominance this year, and a really talented driver, there's no question about that. And you can see already is P1 in this gear up session, but we expect the lap times to come tumbling down as the drivers really get into this gear up session, and also into the knockout qualifying as well, as they go under the Flughafen Zurich sign on this circuit, where genuinely you do not get a moment to relax. You are on it pretty much for the entire lap. This is Loris Mistretta. Loris Mistretta then currently P1, as you can see, and let's get this split shot here where we can see Loris Mistretta in calm, hard at work inside the simulator, and we can see what those inputs do to how the car performs on the track. And Loris Mistretta doing a very good job thus far. You can see all the graphics that we're able to give you on screen as well. 7th gear gonna hit very nearly 300 kilometers per hour. Angelo Michel, another one of our drivers that is out on track then. And here is Angelo with a trademark baseball cap and lots of mouth reactions as well. He really does. His facial expressions as he drives this are a joy to watch. Really entertaining. Javier Loro also makes his way out onto the track also. I think that's a Boeing 737 that we went past. So here is Javier Loro. And altogether different facial expressions you can see from Javier as we split the screen. Javier is cool, calm and confident, and takes seemingly everything well within his pace. And Javier Loro currently P6 in the Drivers' Championship as we go into this round here at the Zurich Airport circuit. Here's Christoph Holstein. Now, he was in the lounge yesterday enjoying the drives from the Challenger League drivers. So Christoph Holstein actually finds himself, of course, in the cockpit today and is currently running P5. Make that P6 now, make that P7, 8 as other drivers go quicker during this gear up session. So Christoph Holstein, who is in our Zurich lounge. We, of course, are bringing the broadcast to you from our lounge here in Kemptal. As we watch Michael Schmiedl now setting another lap. So Michael Smedel and his fellow countryman Wojciech Polesny, both from the Czech Republic, and travel to the lounges to enjoy their racing. And Michael Smedel has certainly enjoyed this year. Going into this round, he's on 170 points. Alejandro Sanchez, last year's winner, on 96 points. There is Michael then, with kind of nothing left to prove, you could argue, but he is a racer, and therefore whenever he is in the racing car, what does he want to do? He wants to win, he wants to be the quickest, and you certainly wouldn't bet against that. So Michael Smedel then, with traffic ahead of him. We've got 4 minutes remaining in this gear up session as we watch Fabio Vettiger now. So Fabio out there on track, you can see how the rubber has been laid down onto this Zurich Airport circuit, which was green yesterday, certainly not green today. And Fabio then, again, as we split the screen now. Earlier on, Fabio was questioning his simulator, but now apparently everything is absolutely fine, and he's currently running P7 in this gear up session. Mark Gasner here goes all the way around the outside here. So Mark Gasner, we are watching all of our cars out there on track. There is Mark Gasner in the all-yellow Formula Hybrid X Evo 2022 simulator, made in Maranello in Italy, of course. What heritage that place has in terms of motor racing doesn't need speaking about. And Enrique Maranon then, with a 1:43.549. Enrique Maranon doing a very good job in this gear-up session. There's Enrique. He, of course, is in our Spanish lounge in Madrid, and is performing very, very well around the circle straight now, which isn't a straight, but you can see it's taken absolutely full chat flat all the way around before just lifting for the right-hander, which is turn number 1. It's Smedel leading from Angelo Michel, then it's Enrique Maranon, and yeah, Yannick Wannenberg is P4 with Loris Mistretta P5. Here's Alejandro Sanchez then, a 2:14.821, the best that he has delivered thus far. Here's Alejandro then, really fighting hard with the simulator today. He, of course, too, is also in our racing lounge in Madrid. And Alejandro Sanchez then, no questioning his talent and his ability. He, of course, taking the title honours last year, but absolutely is not able to take them this year because that honour has already fallen to one Mr. M. Smedel. Wojciech Polesny, we mentioned a few moments ago, 7 foot tall, but that doesn't stop his prowess on track, that's for sure. Currently running P4 and about to set another quick lap as well. We are beginning to run out of time in this gear up session with what have we got? Just under 2 minutes remaining. You can see the main terminal building there as we go past on this exclusively designed for Racing Unleashed Zurich Airport circuit. So it's Smedel from Michel, from Maranon, from Wannenberg, and here is Yannick Wannenberg, just as we're talking about him. Cool as a cucumber in our Munich racing lounge is Yannick Wannenberg, and you can see how he just uses that steering wheel, and how, of course, all the bumps around this, you would think that this circuit would be super smooth, but there are 1 or 2 bumps that can really unsettle the simulators. Here's Jan Teufen, and Jan Teufen then, who is in Zurich, I would suggest. David Ladamada, who, of course, is based here in Kemptal, and racing here in Kemptal for us, David Ladamada. We saw him very briefly in our introduction to our program. We're delighted that you're with us to enjoy the race action to come from our Racer League today. This is Racing Unleashed, our championship race 9 from the Zurich Airport circuit, as Enrique Maranon now goes to the top of the chart and has bested Michael Smedel. Here's Alejandro Sanchez then. We're watching, and we run the clock as he runs underneath the signed barrier, and Alejandro Sanchez, the left-hander to come now, dials into that nicely, almost kisses the apex, carries as much speed to the outside as possible. Enrique Maranon, 2:02.650, best time that has come, and that has come from Enrique Maranon ahead of Michael Smedel, Angelo Michel, Mark Gasner, Fabio Vettiger, Yannick Wannenberg, Loris Mistretta, and Jan Teufen, and now Christoph Holstein. Well, he upsets the order by banking a P3. All of it is academic, of course, because this is just the gear-up session. With just 3 seconds remaining, of course, any driver that crosses the timing line before the clock went down to 0 will have the opportunity to finish the lap that they are on. So Michael Smedel then ends up the gear-up session some 2/10 down on Enrique Maranon, which he won't be just pleased about. but we can probably see what he can do during the knockout qualifying. And Mikkel, it's fair to say, was never a huge fan of the knockout qualifying that we have, but he has proven that it can work, and he is fine proof of that, having won the championship, having had to start very nearly every of our knockout qualifying sessions from the back of the pack. Proof, if proof were needed, that top talent can always find a way through, and he has done that. So Enrique Maranon, then, he was one of the drivers that crossed the timing line and was able to put another lap in. He's got traffic ahead of him, which may compromise this lap, but as I say, it's all pretty much academic, because it is only the gear up session. It's not the knockout qualifying. So it's Enrique Maranon from Mikkel Smeedel, Christoph Holstein, Angelo Mikkel. Then it's Mark Gasner as Alejandro Sanchez right at the closing stages. Well, there you can see some secretive individual getting ready then in our lounge. Stig springs to mind into the simulator. We can see this actually going on live as we speak. Wonderful stuff. So seat, you really do. These simulators are so realistic. It is absolutely extraordinary. Slide into the cockpit, visor down, and steering wheel on. All the social media to the top right hand side of the screen. We'd love you to be part of our Racing Unleashed family, and join us on social media. We would love you to be part of it. Please become part of our Racing Unleashed family. So, final stages of preparation going on, as you can see there. Something of a gleam on that crash helmet, like it's been properly polished today, I think. There. What a joy. Racing Unleashed. This is having free practice, gear up session having been done and dusted. All our eyes on and focused on our knockout qualifying, which comes up next. Let's take a look here at how they are going to be coming out for the knockout qualifying then. It's going to be Yannick Vonenberg from Devon Iskro, Fabio Vettiger, David Ladamada, Jan Teufel, Florian Haase, Loris Mistretta, Mark Gasner, Enrique Maranon then. And then we will see Javier Loro, Wojciech Polesny, Christoph Holstein, Angelo Mikkel, Alejandro Sanchez, Mikkel Smeedel, and then Kevin Abey, who starts from the back of the pack by dint of picking up a penalty from the last event. And that means that he comes from the very back of the pack, and therefore he's got the most drivers to overtake to ensure his qualifying. Mikkel Smeedel has proven that it can be done, and what we love about this knockout qualifying is the fact that it almost gives us another race, because it is critical for all those drivers to try and make their way up the order. Forgive me. Slight cough then. I need some tea. Thank you to my production team, and Nick in particular, who's taken quite a lot of my stick this weekend, and he ill deserves that. He looks after me a treat. Thank you very much. So knockout qualifying about to get underway, and there we can see our safety car ready to lead these cars around then. What they do, they are led out by the safety car, and there is then a series of guarded laps. Well, actually, the guarded laps, you cannot be eliminated, because the whole knockout qualifying phase, how it works is the drivers that are at the back of the pack, after we've had our guarded laps, get eliminated from the knockout qualifying session, which is why the impetus is there for every driver to do lots and lots of overtaking and get by as many cars as possible, so that they can elongate their stay in the knockout qualifying phase. And of course, it sets the grid for the race to come on this very circuit a little bit later on today. So that's what it's all about. That's how our knockout qualifying works. And there you can see the cars champing at the bit, ready to get going then. Our Zurich Airport circuit here, and we're on board with Jan Teufel. This is Yannick Vonenberg, and they are the safety car to the very left-hand side of the screen, as you can see, which is going to lead the cars around for the first lap. Then the safety car will peel off into the pit lane. Then we get a guarded lap where no drivers will be eliminated, but once the guarded lap is done and dusted, we are into knockout qualifying good and proper. So Yannick Vonneberg has the privilege, if you like, of once the safety car peels off into the pit lane, if he can really get up the order, then it would give him a very good opportunity at being able to convert this starting position in the knockout qualifying to being in the same place when it comes to the race a little bit later on today. We will see if it plays out like that. It doesn't always, because you've got some hard-charging drivers that will be coming from the back of the pack and trying to overtake as many cars as possible to put themselves into a really good and privileged qualifying position on the grid. So lights out, let's go. Oh, a bit of wheel spin from the safety car as we get the cars away then for this first. It's like a formation lap, really. Behind the safety car, they will use this time to warm the tyres up, warm the brakes up. Of course, the brakes, like in real racing, they dissipate the heat through the brakes, through the rims and onto the tyres. We do see the effects of tyre degradation towards the end of the race. So there we can see the safety car being driven around this Zurich Airport circuit with Yannick Vonneberg and then Devin Iskro and Fabio Vettiger. David Latamada, then Jan Teufen, ahead of Hasa Mistretta, Gassner, Marinon, Javier Loro, Wojciech Polesny, Christoph Holstein, Angelo Michel, Alejandro Sanchez and Michael Smeedel, with Kevin Abey then, who, as I mentioned, is starting right at the back of the pack. And he suffering a penalty from the last race event. So our racing steward panel take a look at everything, and there was quite a lot to look at after the we see there you can see Yannick Vonneberg hasn't gone off the track. There was quite a lot during the Challenger League for the stewarding panel to take a look at, and Alejandro Sanchez then, another one of those drivers that will be wanting to do some overtaking. Now, the overtaking can start once the safety car has peeled off into the pit lane, albeit a guarded lap. Guarded laps you can still overtake, but what happens is you don't run the risk of being eliminated right at during the guarded laps. Alejandro Sanchez then, defending champion, of course, but the championship has been sealed already for this year by Michael Smeedel. So we follow the safety car then leading us around this wonderful Zurich Airport circuit. As I say, designed exclusively for Racing Unleashed, and provides a wonderful opportunity. And as I said during the gear up session, you would expect the track surface to be super smooth. Well, it is in lots and lots of places, but there are one or two very, very chassis unsettling bumps around the place as well. So Vonneberg, Iskro, Vettiger, Latamada. David Latamada is in a really good position, actually, running in P5 here. If he can overtake a few, he could find himself right at the sharp end of the grid for the race to come a little bit later on. So it's a joy to watch all this. Final stages of preparation for our knockout qualifying. So drivers getting to grips, having had their gear up session, and now behind the safety car, which is beginning to speed up a little bit towards the end of this, what I call a formation lap during this. Opens up the throttle then and will disappear into the pit lane, and it will be the responsibility of Yannick Vonneberg then to control the pace. So here we go, let's get it underway as we go qualifying now. Our knockout qualifying is underway. Safety car has indeed peeled off into the pit lane, so Yannick Vonneberg with completely clear track ahead of him. Now he needs to set some wonderful laps. So we'll see what the likes of Michael Smeedel and Alejandro Sanchez and Angelo Michel and Christoph Holstein and Wojciech Polesny and Javier Loro can do from the back end of the pack. They need to be overtaking cars that are ahead of him. We're into a guarded lap, and what does a guarded lap mean, Dave? It means that no cars will be eliminated on this lap. However, once we get the guarded lap out of the way, then two cars get eliminated from every lap. So two cars going on every lap. So you can see that the impetus and onus is on overtaking, and we are seeing drivers overtake now because Devin Iskro has dropped way down the order. There was Christoph Holstein. You can see cars going 2-3 abreast here, and this is what we love about this knockout qualifying, because it does propel and promote almost another race. So Smeedle and Sanchez have both taken advantage of the fact that Devin Iskro has dropped down the order. The one that hasn't taken advantage of that yet thus far is Kevin Abey. Here's Alejandro Sanchez then trying to take it to all that he can, and Alejandro Sanchez with a Haase ahead, very much in his target sights. Haase runs very wide. That allows a little bit more momentum from Alejandro Sanchez then, getting the benefit of the slipstream. Here's Mikael Smeedle then, absolute star of the show, currently running in P14. So Kevin Abey has managed to get by Devin Iskro. Here's Wojciech Polesny. Wojciech Polesny P7. Enrique Marinon got by Christoph Holstein. Mikael Smeedle now getting by Haase as well. And here comes Wojciech Polesny, just taking a look at the inside here. Unfortunately, the overtake wasn't on at that point. And now you can see he's carrying so much momentum, so much speed. The cars go absolutely side by side as we're on board with Fabio Vediga. And Wojciech Polesny going by David Ladamada. And Fabio Vediga sets the fastest lap. He is P2. It's Yannick Vonneberg who's got some 6/10 ahead of Fabio Vediga. Then Jan Teufen. Then it's Gassner, Mistretta, Polesny, Ladamada, Marinon. Then Holstein and Mikael Smeedle continuing his quest to go forward. And it's a real bottleneck of cars now, as you can see. Lots and lots of traffic, so who's going to be able to weave their way through this lot? Javier Loro is up to P10. David Ladamada, P8. Angelo Mikel, P11. Then it's Sanchez, Smeedle, Haase, and Abey. Oh, and someone going off there. So this gaggle of 6 or 7 cars as we go 3 abreast. Angelo Mikel taking advantage of that and finds himself in P8. Javier Loro and Mikael Smeedle both having moved up as well. So we watch this. What Javier Loro wants to do is try and get past these 2 cars of Angelo Mikel and Christoph Holstein and just find the relative clear track ahead of him before Enrique Marinon. Taking a look at the inside. Alejandro Sanchez and Mikael Smeedle involved in a real battle here in this knockout qualifying. Absolutely brilliant to watch. So Smeedle and Alejandro Sanchez then, of course, champion of last year, champion of this year. Now, Mikael Smeedle, I don't know whether there was a mistake there, but he's dropped down the order and now finds himself coming back, but that's by dint of the fact that the likes of Javier Loro and Haase have been in strife. Here's Alejandro Sanchez. Kevin Abey up to P10. You'll recall when he started this knockout qualifying session, he was at the back of the pack by dint of a penalty. I think it may have just been a GPS disorder because Mikael Smeedle P11, Devin Iskro P12. Right at the front of the pack, though, is Yannick Vonneberg as Wojciech Polesny, who's running P6 at the moment, sets the fastest lap of all. Who's in the danger zone, the drop zone? It's Javier Loro and David Ladamada. So Alejandro Sanchez, P9 at the moment. Here's Javier Loro. Down through the gearbox into second gear. And whoa, Javier Loro making contact with the barriers. So he's gone. He has gone. Javier Loro has gone. That plays into the hands of the likes of Devin Iskro and Kevin Abey. So Wojciech Polesny, we're watching here. P6. So next in the drop zone, unbelievably, it's Haase and Smeedle. I say unbelievably because Smeedle normally, as I say, it looked like he'd really dropped back down in the order. So whether, I find it hard to believe that Mikael Smeedle had made a mistake, but perhaps. And he finds himself now in P13 and Haase is P14. So just have a feeling that information on being given is perhaps there was a touch between Kevin Abey and Mikael Smeedle, which has put Smeedle back down to that P13 position. Here he is, fighting for all he's worth because he is a fighter. No question about that. And he's come from the back before now, you know. And you can see him trying to reel in Kevin Abey's car ahead of him. Is he going to be able to do it before the lap is concluded? It's absolutely critical, but not only critical, he's got to get by Kevin Abey as well to ensure his longevity in this knockout qualifying. So he's right on the gearbox now, but we are running out of a lap for Michael Smeedel. This would be a real turn-up for the books to see Smeedel out so early on in the knockout qualifying phase. Race control will doubtless take a look at it, but there you can see as we ride on board with Kevin Abey, and Enrique Maranon sets the fastest lap. Down to 14 cars running in this qualifying session, and now I think, unless Smeedel can do it in the final couple of meters, and I don't think he's going to be able to. Well, that is amazing, absolutely amazing. So it was Smeedel and Hasse that were in the drop zone then. Yannick Vonenberg continuing to lead from Fabio Vettiger and Jan Teufel. And sure enough, we do lose Florian Hasse and Michael Smeedel. They are both out. Well, Enrique Maranon, P7 at the moment. Wojciech Polesny is the car ahead of Enrique Maranon. Wojciech Polesny has looked pretty menacing during this knockout qualifying. And Fabio Vettiger is encroaching on Yannick Vonenberg. The gap is down to just 4/10 between the two of them. And Enrique Maranon and Angelo Michel and Alejandro Sanchez all getting the better of Wojciech Polesny, who's now dropped down to P9. Next two drivers in the drop zone, Christoph Holstein and Kevin Abey. We're on board with Fabio Vettiger then, who is getting closer to the driver that is P1 at the moment. What can and where can Fabio Vettiger make it work here in this knockout qualifying to try and secure P1 pole position? So here is Vettiger. You can see it's just down to 2/10, less than 2/10 now, as he gets right onto the gearbox of Yannick Vonenberg. This is precisely what I've said about this knockout qualifying being almost like another race. Really, really enjoyable as Fabio Vettiger tries to anticipate exactly where Yannick Vonenberg is going to place the car, and therefore where Fabio Vettiger can have a go for an overtake. Yannick Vonenberg, though, his eyes will be all over his rearview mirrors, and he will be very, very aware of the fact that Fabio Vettiger is knocking on the back door here. So around the circle straight, which isn't straight, and heading into the right-hander, which is turn number 1. Vettiger dives to the inside and tries to send it with Yannick Vonenberg on the outside. Here's Kevin Abey then, around the circle here at Zurich Airport, heading in towards turn number 1, holds as much speed as possible, considers braking at the very last moment. So Vettiger not able to get by Yannick Vonenberg currently, and it's Christoph Holstein and Kevin Abey then who we lose. They were the next two in the drop zone as Loris Mistretta loses out to Enrique Maranon. Next, it's going to be Wojciech Polesny and Devin Isgro as Loris Mistretta continues his fight with Enrique Maranon. It's all playing into the hands of Angelo Michel and Alejandro Sanchez here, and Alejandro Sanchez could be the big beneficiary. Indeed he is, having got by Mistretta and Michel. And now Mistretta tries to fight back, and that opens up the door. And Alejandro Sanchez and Angelo Michel then. This is a wonderful fight that is going on for P6 in our qualifying and our knockout qualifying at the moment. The three protagonists are Alejandro Sanchez, Angelo Michel and Loris Mistretta. Wojciech Polesny and Devin Isgro then the two drivers at risk of going out, and here is Alejandro Sanchez. We'll have to say a less than enthusiastic demeanor across his face, I would suggest. P6 for Alejandro Sanchez will mean a third row start if it stays this way, but again he is under pressure here, and all the way around the outside goes Angelo Michel as if Alejandro Sanchez almost wasn't there. Absolutely brilliant overtake. Angelo Michel then on an absolute mission today during this knockout qualifying. Brilliant to watch. That relegates Alejandro Sanchez to P7, and he is going to have Loris Mistretta behind him now. So whilst all this is going on, Yannick Vonenberg is rubbing his hands with invisible soap because he's very happy being in that P1 position with Fabio Vettiger P2. Then it's Jan Teufel. Then it's Gasner, Maranon, Michel Sanchez, and it's Michel that we're on board with now running in P6. Alejandro Sanchez just getting a little bit closer to the back end, but the pace and grip that Michel had available all the way around the outside of Alejandro Sanchez was a thing of beauty, a thing to behold, really it was. Lesney and Iskro then on the conclusion of this lap. Those are the 2 drivers that are out. So we remain with our 8 drivers. And therefore, the way it looks at the moment is the first 4 rows of the grid will contain, no question, these 4 drivers. Quite what positions they will be in remains to be seen, although no one is particularly close. They're all gapped by about 6/10. And therefore, all the overtaking that came on earlier in the knockout qualifying session means that it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone to make any moves here. Now, Fabio Vettiga, he was able to get on the back of the car ahead of him earlier on. Is he going to be able to find the pace to do that now? It's the fight for P1. He's got Yannick Vonenberg right ahead of him. As you can see, just 8 cars remaining in this knockout qualification phase to give us the grid for the race to come a little bit later on. So Yannick Vonenberg, Fabio Vettiga fighting over P1. Then it's Jan Teufen, and then it's Gazna, Marinon, Michel, Sanchez and Mistretta, who of course are now in the drop zone because every single lap we lose 2 cars, 2 drivers. They're eliminated from the knockout qualifying phase. And for the moment, I don't think either Alejandro Sanchez or Loris Mistretta are going to be able to get the better of Angelo Michel, who has driven, as I said earlier on, something of a demon during the course of our knockout qualifying and also the Gear Up free practice session. And Fabio Vettiga, I have to say, Yannick Vonenberg has seemingly got ahead of the threat of Fabio behind him, as Loris Mistretta then and Alejandro Sanchez out of the knockout qualifying now. And there is Alejandro Sanchez. As I said, the demeanor is not perhaps what we would expect to see from Alejandro Sanchez. So down to the final 6 now, so fighting over the first 3 rows of our grid. However, of course, all of the results are provisional until race control have taken a definitive look at every incident that went on during the course and has gone on during the course of our knockout qualifying. Vonenberg with 7/10 on Vettiga at the moment. Now, the one, in my opinion, who is almost absolved of any penalty to come is, or the 2 are probably Vonenberg and Vettiga, because they were sort of at the front of the pack, as you were, and therefore not involved when the traffic was heavy in the early stages of this knockout qualifying. Enrique Marinon, then P5, Angelo Michel, P6. Therefore, those 2 drivers are now in the elimination drop zone. And those are the 2 that we are expecting to go out. Enrique Marinon, he's not quite close enough to Gazna to be able to have a go. Here's Angelo Michel, another one of the drivers then who's overtaken a number of cars. Look at him send it through that turn. Absolutely full chat flat. Does lift and brakes going through the left-hander, and then back on the brakes again for the right-hander. But Angelo Michel certainly giving it his all, as Jan Teufen, as all of a sudden the fight for P3 all of a sudden gets a little bit more intensive. So there is Jan Teufen, who's having to stick his elbows out and defend a little bit from Gazna now. Here's Enrique Marinon around the circle here at the Zurich Airport Circuit. Of course, the circle contains one of our racing lounges, with which a number of our drivers are competing within today. So it's Enrique Marinon and Angelo Michel then that we lose. And now we are down to our final 4. Yannick Vonenberg, Fabio Vettiga, Jan Teufen and Gazna. So where and how and who are going to make moves in the final stages of this knockout qualifying? First 2 rows that we're looking at here, as Gazna now goes to the outside of Teufen, and a brilliant textbook overtake, executed absolutely perfectly. Here comes Teufen trying to come back here. They're fighting over the same row of the grid, but position 3 or position 4. So Mark Gazna currently leading Jan Teufen. On the gas then, you can hear him really pull away in these wonderful Formula Hybrid X Evo 2022 cars. And having seen off Jan Teufel finds himself Mark Gasner in that P3 position. Yannick Vonneberg and Fabio Vettiger, they've all got about 7/10 between them. The closest two are those that are P3 and P4. And therefore, I think, and never want to be the curse of a commentator, but almost says to me that this is our front two rows of the grid, how it looks, unless Jan Teufel can find something over the final turns to be able to get his way past Mark Gasner, but I'm not convinced of that. So Jan Teufel that we follow now, and that won't have helped him. Just rumbling across the rumble strips, causing him to lose the back end of the car just momentarily. He could save, he held onto it nicely, and I think there is no question that we're going to lose Mark Gasner and Jan Teufel now as they head up towards the timing line. That will be the end of their knockout qualifying, but nonetheless, a very good knockout qualifying for Mark Gasner and Jan Teufel. It's P3 and P4. So we get to the pole shootout almost between Yannick Vonneberg and Fabio Vettiger, and interestingly, the gap has come down to just 2/10. So Fabio Vettiger here is really absolutely determined. He's in our lounge in Zurich, and he's absolutely determined to wrestle away this pole position. What can he do, and where can he do it? Well, he did have a go around about 3 laps ago on Yannick Vonneberg, but it didn't work. And Yannick Vonneberg now seems to have been able to really put his pace to good effect and increase the margin to some 4/10 between himself and Fabio Vettiger. What he needs not to do is make any form of mistake whatsoever. He, of course, is racing in our Munich lounge. And here comes Fabio Vettiger under braking then, and through the turn he gets an awful lot closer to Yannick Vonneberg. Yannick is wise to it though, knows that he's coming, and is doing everything he can just to absolutely make sure that he keeps enough of a margin between himself and Fabio Vettiger to protect that P1 position. Here comes Vettiger now. You can see them weaving across the track. Fabio trying to get the advantage of any slipstream off the back of the Yannick Vonneberg car, and Yannick Vonneberg in turn is trying to break that to lessen his advantage. This is probably Vettiger's only opportunity to have a go. Final few turns. Who is it going to be that is going to take P1 for our race to come this afternoon around the exclusive Zurich Airport circuit? Is it going to be Fabio Vettiger? Is it going to be Yannick Vonneberg? Well, Vonneberg has really stuck his elbows out and defended well in a perfectly fair way, it has to be said. And I think that Yannick Vonneberg has done enough, but huge credit to Fabio Vettiger for really taking it to him. And Yannick Vonneberg, well, surely he has done enough as he crosses the timing line. That means that P1 goes to Yannick Vonneberg, P2 to Fabio Vettiger. Those, of course, are provisional until we get absolute confirmation from race control. But I don't think Yannick or Fabio were involved in anything that would cause them to be looked at by our race control. After saying that, of course, I know nothing. And that's why I'm really being very cautious with what I say, but it was a very, very enjoyable knockout qualifying phase, that's for sure. Really enjoyed that. Some of the heavy-duty runners going out much earlier than we anticipated or expected. So excellent stuff, and well done to all the drivers for taking part in that knockout qualifying. And as soon as we get confirmation from race control, we of course will bring that to you. But as I say, when it comes to the top two, I don't imagine that we're going to see any problems whatsoever. Well, what do I know? Absolutely nothing, because I'm just hearing that actually P1 to P3 are under investigation. So, just proves the point that all I do is talk about what I can see. What goes on elsewhere, I can't legislate for. So, we are being told that there is no confirmation yet because the first 3 places are under investigation. So, we will see. As soon as we have any news, we will bring it to you. Now, there is race control, and you can see all the data being looked at right now. Top team of controllers there, including Carl Wendlinger, who is in the white shirt there. You can see to the very right-hand side of your picture. Absolutely top racing driver. And what Carl does, he, of course, looks at everything from a racing driver's perspective as well. So he sees it from a driver's perspective and is able to pass on. Now, let's take a look at this. This is Florian Haase on the outlap. Did he get a punt from behind? David Ladamada then. These are the replays that we can bring you from our knockout qualifying session. You can see there were one or two little touches which caused drivers problems. Now, Kevin Abey and Mikael Smedel, well, to be fair, I had heard that Mikael Smedel dropped down the order as a result of a problem with Kevin Abey, and Kevin Abey was already on a penalty, you will recall, and Christoph Holstein. Wow. So there is quite a lot to look at there, and you can see that our race control board will be busy for a few minutes ascertaining who is responsible for what and how they will be penalised. So Kevin Abey, who, as I said, he started at the back of the pack for knockout qualifying following a penalty brought about from the last race event. So it would appear that he will be under the microscopic gaze of race control once again. So they are hard at work. They are looking at data. They have even more images available to them than we have in our broadcast centre. And not only that, of course, they have data from all the cars and from the circuits as well, so that they can look at absolutely everything in minute detail. They are firm, but perfectly fair, I have to say. And with the benefit of a driver's eye perspective, taking a look at it with Carl Wendlinger as well. To the left-hand side is Wojciech Polesny, and to the right-hand side is Angelo Mikel. You can see them, they are out of their simulators and taking on some water following that knockout qualifying. And take a seat, Wojciech, in your own time. Chooses to sit next to Angelo Mikel and have a discussion. And there we can bring you those live pictures coming out of our lounge. And many more of the drivers now joining as well. Following our knockout qualifying that we have enjoyed. It was good to bring you those replays of just some of the incidents that we saw very early on. And that's why our race control team are taking a look at all the incidents and everything that happened during the course of that. And there you can see they can speed up, they can slow down, they can look at it from different angles, and there you can see, just as we mentioned it, going backwards, this is Wojciech Polesny that we're actually looking at right now, and there was a touch, and that will be looked at, and whether that will be considered a racing incident or not remains to be seen. So let's slow it right down, frame by frame. Now, there is, see, now looking at it, when we did that slowly, did Wojciech Polesny actually run him out of track there? And you have to wonder. Very, very interesting to look at. We are being told that Yannick Vonenberg has and is confirmed as pole. We are told that P1, P2 and P3 are absolutely fixed. So Yannick Vonenberg, who is in our racing lounge in Munich, good morning to you, sir. An excellent knockout qualifying from you. Fabio Vettiger had a go on a couple of occasions, Yannick, but from my point of view, it looked like you got it under control and you were aware of the fact that he was there and you drove really, really well.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. I was quite sweating. But yeah, he had a couple of attempts, but all in all, you need to stay over this 4/10 gap, then you're safe on the straights.
Now, this, it seems to me, having watched and talked about the Challenger League yesterday and having seen you guys out in the gear up and also the knockout qualifying phase, and this Zurich Airport circuit is so demanding, Yannick. There isn't a moment where you can even rest your concentration for a millisecond. It looks like you're on it all the time. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. It has all the stuff a race driver wants. So a technical part, fast corners. Yeah, it's quite demanding.
So now you look very, very quick, obviously, in knockout qualifying. You are P1. Presumably you've got the pace for the race. What is your strategy? Is it to try and disappear up the road and build that margin once again?
Yeah, of course. And then, yeah, surviving lap 1 is always the goal. The way to turn 1 is quite a narrow one. So, yeah, hopefully everything went fine.
I describe turn one as it's something like a funnel, isn't it? Because you've got that very, very long Zurich circle, and then everyone is squeezed together. Of course, you will have the advantage of having everyone behind you. What you just don't need is anyone clunking you from behind.
Exactly, yeah, that's right.
Well, Yannick, all we can do is offer sincere congratulations on P1. Richly deserved. You drove like a star, and best of luck for the race to come a little bit later on today.
Thanks, Dave.
So Yannick Vonneberg then, who has been confirmed as P1, he takes pole position and therefore will be starting P1 when it comes to our race to come a little bit later on live from the Zurich airport circuit. You can see drivers there in discussion, and Michael Smeedel taking on some very valuable calories. He's the second driver to the right-hand side of your picture, furthest right, if you will. He, of course, has already sealed the Drivers' Championship and goes into this event with 170 points. And, of course, he'll be perhaps somewhat disappointed that he has not been able to... compete in the knockout qualifying longer than he would like. We take a look at a lot of things here in Racing Unleashed, and there is so much that goes on behind the scenes and in the background. And I mentioned and alluded to earlier on in our program that we would be taking a look at some cognitive studies and research that is going on with a university who are taking advantage of our simulators. And Monisha Coltonburn will give us an explanation as to how these simulators and how this university and how this collaboration is going to work together.
We've started a very exciting project. It's at a university, the University of Wiener Neustadt, which is next to Vienna. The simulator is based in the so-called Sim Racing Lab. And over there, they will be conducting different kind of research. There will be a study and test and trials with drivers relating to physical features, cognitive aspects of driving itself. So there will be many tests undertaken to see how does the body, the human body, react under stress situations, and stress markers will be set. Fits in very well into one of our major areas which we focus on, that is working with institutions, with higher educational institutions.
This is Racing Unleashed Beyond the Pinnacle.
Thank you very much. Monisha Coltonborn then explaining more about that collaboration with a university. Of course, many things in Racing Unleashed that we look at, including being physically perfect, or as near to physically perfect as we can be. Am I not the bold embodiment of that? No, I'm not. However, there is one man who is our Chief Fitness Officer, Ralph Muller, and his Fit and Fast program, and he gives us a new dynamic every time that we come on the air, and today he has some excellent exercises for us to take part in, and we look forward to seeing you after Ralph Muller and Fit and Fast.
Okay guys, here's something special for you. Planks are one of the most demanding bodyweight exercises. Try to do the correct execution so that you don't injure yourself. Let's go into a lower position. Make sure elbows and shoulders are in line. Keep the neck long and the nose pointing to the floor. So go a little bit more down. Your butt is in line with your lower back. Important also the stomach, that you really flex it. Start the exercise by first lifting on one leg at the time. Repeat 3 times for around 30 seconds. What we're waiting for is the pain that comes. Pain comes, then we keep it a little bit longer. 5 seconds, fantastic, and that is our plan. Go for it. Racing Unleashed. That is how we do it. Let's move on.
This is Racing Unleashed Beyond the Pinnacle.
Hold on to your hats. We are on the grid. Who is going to be king of the late breakers? Excellent on-board shot. Michael Spiegel is throwing absolutely everything at this, including the kitchen sink. Look at this. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Disaster strikes.
Unglaublich.
Wow, qué pelea.
I'm loving this.
Take your hat off and give him a bow. He's already in the lead, and now he can sail off into the sunset.
This is Racing Unleashed.
And we're on the grid then with P19 Enrique Marinon, who we hopefully are going to get a word from in just a moment. He doesn't seem to have his headset on though here. So I'm not sure if this one's going to be possible. P19 though for Enrique Marinon as he's preparing for his race. Coming up from the back of the pack, what can he do from there? P18 then is Jan Tufen in Zurich, looking like he's ready to go. And Loris Mistretta, 17th place. He was a man who looked a bit disappointed earlier on in the qualifying session. A bit more of a smile from him now. 16th place on the grid then goes the way of David Ladamorda here in Kemptal, and in Munich Florian Haas then will start in 15th place. What can these two do from the back part of the grid? P14 lineup is Wojciech Plesny then, and he's having a bit of a stretch of the arms ready to go. And there is Christoph Holstein in P13, and we can speak with Christoph now. And Christoph, what are you expecting to do in this race?
Gain as many positions as possible, I guess.
Where are you looking to finish overall? Have you got a goal?
It's always unpredictable to say what's going to happen. I don't really know. I just want to get some points. Top 5 would be amazing, but it's going to be difficult. So I'll take points, try not to crash. That's it.
Well, best of luck for the race.
Thank you.
Lining up in position number 12 then is Angelo Michel in Munich, and Mark Gasner then as well, his Munich compatriot alongside him. As a wave there from Angelo Michel and a smile from him as well. They're getting ready. Top 10 though, Fabio Vertiger in Zurich, he's ready to go, and Lars Bulmer in 9th place as well. What happened to his pace in the knockout qualifying? Can he keep it going? And there's the man sorting his gloves out, P8 on the grid at the moment, and we can get a word with Schmiedel now. How's the nerves? Are you looking forward to this race?
Well, to be honest, there is no pressure on my side because I'm not the one who needs to catch up in the championship. So it is like one of those first of 4 match balls for me in the championship. So yeah, I'm just going to enjoy the race and see how it goes. It doesn't really matter for me if I secure the championship today or in the next race.
Well, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
And we've got Devin Eastgrow lining up alongside him in P7. The top 6 then looks a little bit like this. Kevin Abbey in Zurich, he will line up in P6, and Javier Loro, the 2 red cockpits alongside each other. Madrid for Loro in P5. P4 is Alejandro Sanchez, was our pole sitter. He's down to P4, and Alejandro, we spoke earlier, pole position it was, but a penalty's put you back onto the second row.
Yeah, I didn't like pole position that much. So yeah, we'll try to do our best and stay out of trouble and try to move forward.
Well, best of luck in the race.
Thank you.
Ivan Kaufman in P3 ready to go as well, and the front row looks a little like this. Roger Mort, eyes closed, not asleep, he's focusing on what he's got to do, and Yannick Vonenberg as well, fully focused on this race. Your new pole sitter then, can he take a race win? Don't forget he led majority of the knockout qualifying session here, so he's probably in the best position. Let's go to the fast facts now. And the fast facts here for Spa then in the Ardennes Forest. The Ardennes roller coaster at what is Spa Francorchamps then. 7 kilometres in length, the longest circuit on the calendar. 10 left-handers and 9 to the right. 250 metres for Yannick Vonenberg to start to get to turn 1. 100 metres in difference in the altitude. And El Rouge, the most famous corner in the whole world of motorsport. We come from the start line into 2021. We'll get to the corners in a moment. Javier Loro was the man who took the win, but there is this is the Racer League. Schmiedel on the right-hand side of your screen, and Dedic Schmiedel coming through them final corners, and he does what he does best, doesn't he? Came through to take the win. Fast Facts then down to La Source. You go into turn 1, a heavy braking zone. A few people send it up the inside. You've got to be careful and make sure not to make any contact. Up El Rouge you go then, the most famous corner. How brave are you up here? How good a run can you get at the top of Radion to head down the Kemmel Straight and into Les Combes? Get on that right-hand side and make sure you can get the move done. Or are you brave enough to stick it around the outside without making contact? That is what these drivers face. Into the chicane we go now, and an all-important braking zone. Make some moves there, but make sure that exit is crucial as you head to turn 1. And Nico Rosberg back in his William days doing a blindfold track draw to see how good of Spa he remembers. There was a corner coming up there. Nico, as he come, there we go. We found a few more corners. He's going to come back on himself. There's a bend coming up. There's the bend. Join it together. Yeah. No. We'll just cross it over and finish. You can't complete a lap at Nico Rosberg's version of Spa. So that was your Fast Facts then here at Racing Unleashed, where we go beyond the pinnacle in 2022. The drivers are in their brilliant cockpits ready to get this race underway. We are waiting now for the red lights, and it will be go momentarily here then in Belgium. Every driver focused, fully awaiting the lights to come on. What thoughts though? What must be going through Alejandro Sanchez's head? A penalty demoting him to P4. He's now closer to Schmiedl. Schmiedl, very calm and confident, he said. He's not the one that's got to do the hard work. The lights though are coming on now. The revs start to rise. The red lights are on. They're being held a little bit. It's green and go then in the Racer League, and it's a great start from Alejandro Sanchez on the second row of the grid, who's already looking to make some moves into the source. Around the outside he goes, 3 wide into there, and everybody through relatively cleanly. We've got a spinner in the background. Alejandro Sanchez now up to El Rouge. To the outside he goes, and he's going to look to try and attack. Roger Mort up into El Rouge, backs out of that one very sensibly, and now can try and slingshot his way through before Kevin Abbey can try and get past him. To the outside of Mort he goes, as Kaufman is attacking Vandenberg up front, and look at this, a tap on the side of Sancho's car there, and now a tap on the back of Mort from Kevin Abbey, and there's a big incident then coming down the Kemmel Straight. Alejandro Sanchez manages to come away for P3, but look who's behind him. It's his title rival Michael Schmiedl. He's now attacking him once again, and this is an all too familiar sight for Sanchez. Schmiedl coming through the pack, and he's already nearly on the podium. 4 places he's gained already at the start. Gazner down to last place with Wojciech Plezny in 18th place then, and there is Schmiedl already. Probably can't believe his luck after El Rouge and Radion. Down into the middle sector of the track, right left chicane coming up, and he's all over the back of Sanchez. That was a wiggle though from Kaufman just in front of Sanchez, manages to hold it together, but there's just a queue of cars coming up now to behind Kaufman here, allowing Vandenberg to just stretch his legs a little bit. Schmiedl though gonna have a look on Alejandro Sanchez. He's side by side as they come round into this little left hand bend. Flat out you come here. Schmiedl right around the outside. Will he brake later than Sanchez into this chicane? Loro can only watch on from the back, and Schmiedl on the brakes a bit earlier, and Sanchez turns in and taps the side of Schmiedl. Be careful on the rejoin, indeed he does, and stays ahead of Michael Schmiedl there. But you saw from the camera angle that Sanchez looked like he turned in a little bit. Schmiedl though, he does not look panicked, he does not look worried. It's only lap 1 of the race. We start lap 2, and on go Schmiedl now. Roger Mort making places back up. He's in 17th place on your timing screens then, and away he goes at this moment in time. Michael Schmiedl then, what can he do? Plezny's now up to 14th. Vettiger is up to 15th for David Ladamorda, gains another place. Here is Roger Mort, and look at these on El Rouge. A big snap, huge into the wall on El Rouge. And it didn't work for Roger there, and that is a shame. He is well behind the pack now. Maybe a lift would have been necessary. He bounced off the curb, big snap into the wall, and Sanchez's rear wing. Look at that, Schmiedl and Loro in the background. He is hunting him down. Sanchez, though, is trying to hunt down Kaufmann. He's trying to not be the hunted. He's trying to become the hunter, but can't do anything about it. Schmiedl, he's looking, and as we saw at Silverstone last time around, Schmiedl just had a look here and there and forced the other drivers into an error, and Sanchez has to be wise about this one today and make sure he realises what he's got to do in this task. He cannot afford a mistake here. Points over his rival will be absolutely massive for this man. Schmiedl, look at the run. He's already pulled out. He's looking to the outside line. And Sanchez here, you feel he's going to be helpless once again as they come to the chicane. It's exactly like lap 1. It's Schmiedl on the outside. And Kaufmann's attacking Vandenberg for the race lead. But here comes Schmiedl on Alejandro Sanchez. Sanchez breaks lane again. This time gives Schmiedl a bit more room. And they get through the chicane perfect this time around. And it all stays as it is, apart from the fact that Kaufmann now leads this race over Vandenberg. Here comes Schmiedl having another look, and I tell you what, Sanchez, he is a brave man at the moment, and he is a fighter, a warrior in this championship battle with this man behind him. Loro behind Schmiedl looking interested, but knows that it's a monumental task if you're to get past him. Up El Rouge come. Look at the launch Schmiedl got. Will he do what David C does yesterday? He tucks underneath now, and you feel that this run is going to be all important. Vandenberg could be an absolute blinder, and look at this, side by side they split. Vandenberg into Lecombs, and Sanchez somehow keeps hold of it. Schmiedl tries around the outside, now on the inside, can't get it done, and has to tuck back in behind. Schumacher Hakkinen-esque there from these two, and what scenes we have here at Spa. Absolutely fantastic racing. Javier Loro now on the back of Vandenberg. He's looking interested as well to make up another place. That though promotes Sanchez to P2. Schmiedl's on the podium yet again. He must have enjoyed that, as he's fully focused and concentrated on what he's doing at the minute. Vandenberg just dropping back, and this allows Kaufmann out front to now come under pressure from Sanchez and Schmiedl. Elsewhere down the pack, Angelo Mikel's up to 7th place. Here is Alejandro Sanchez, and look, he's as cool as a cucumber. He doesn't look flustered from Schmiedl behind. He knows what he's got to do. He's absolutely on it, and he's got a bit of a breathing space to Schmiedl now after the battle they've just had. There's Loro and Vandenberg battling it out in the background. You see there side by side as Schmiedel's coming round now. Loro, I think, has got past. Look at the closing speed of Schmiedl in the slipstream there. Just makes contact and backs out of it to let Alejandro Sanchez keep that place. And a great job from these two at the minute. Great respect being shown by both drivers. Kaufmann crosses the line and is still in the lead of this race. And what an epic scrap these are having. And Schmiedl did not fancy lunging up the inside there. He knows it's only lap 4 of a 17-lap race. Bit of a wiggle from both drivers there then as they come across to start lap 4 and towards Eau Rouge they go now. Marinon up into P9 ahead of Christoph Holstein there then. And where is Roger Mort down in 19th still. He's 2.6 off the back of Haas. Here though comes Schmiedl. Angelo Mikel on the right hand side, your screen making moves, and Schmiedl now, he's already reached top speed. Here comes Sanchez backing him round the outside of Lecombs, and Schmiedl now gets the move done. And did Sanchez there lose the car? I'm not sure. Mikel all over the curb and the rumble strips off the track, so I'm sure that'll just be looked at by race control. But Schmiedl then takes 2nd place and can hunt after Kaufmann now. He's already doing what he needs to do to win this championship today. And Sanchez, well, look at the gap to Schmiedl already. He has got past and he has pulled away. Sanchez is now looking at Loro in his rear view mirror and knows that he could come under pressure there. Sanchez has got to keep on it because Schmiedl, a man of very few mistakes, he needs to apply the pressure that has just been applied to him. Christoph Holstein there has Lars Bulmer going round the outside, sticks it back up the inside. Great racing from these two, and they're still together as they come into the right-hander. Now Holstein gets past Bulmer, and that job done for the final point scoring position here, and 10th place for Christoph Holstein at this moment in time. Here's Mistretta now having a look up the inside of Lars Bulmer and has got the move done, and Also comes Poleshny. A bit of contact there from Bulmer. Has Bulmer got a problem with his simulator? I reckon he's just seemed very, very slow as Poleshny's dived up the inside of Mistretta there and gets himself 2 places in the matter of moments. And Poleshny, as he just checks his mirror, he's now sitting comfortably in the points. Couple of cars just in front for him to catch as well, as they're all trying to break the toe. Vonenberg has now got himself a battle with Angelo Mikel. Mikel's got past him, so what is no, it's Sanchez who was keeping an eye on Mikel, then fighting with Vonenberg to make his way up the order. Loro still on the back of Sanchez. Here is Poleshny with Christoph Holstein and Enrique Marinon, and here comes Mistretta back at him. The slipstream though, and Poleshny just squeezing him, and Mistretta saying, oh, you're out of the way. Into Lecombs. Poleshny keeps hold of that place up the inside. Mistretta wisely gives it, backs out of that one and gives him the room that he needs here then. And there is Loris Mistretta, fully wanting to get back in this point scoring position. He's close to the points as well, only a 1.5 seconds away from the point scoring position. Devin Eastro then on the back of Kevin Abbey, and that was Vonenberg then, who just seems to be starting to struggle all over the curb. A little wiggle on it, and Kevin Abbey then starting to put the pressure on. Talking of pressure, has Kaufman's nerves then, because this man is charging at the moment and he's right on the back of Kaufman. Sanchez sticking with him though, he's within a second, but you get the feeling that if Schmiedl gets past Ivan Kaufman here, it'll be game over. Pulls out now, he's going to go around the outside. Flat out, not a lift there from Schmiedl at all, fully committed to this. How late does he brake? Kaufman tries to outbrake him. Oh, Schmiedl! Bit of a rare mistake there. Touches the sausage curb. Manages, though, to hang on to it and get the move done. Just a bit of a glance on the rear wheel. Loses the back end. Hangs on to it. Job done. And for Ivan Kaufman now, he's always gone very deep at the source. And does that make Alejandro Sanchez a little interested? I think he's a bit too far back. And now, Schmiedl's been led off the hook. There is Sanchez starting to gap Javier Loro and get on the back of Ivan Kaufman. Needs to keep that pressure on Michael Schmiedl. He's pulled out to that left-hand side now. Here he comes. He's used that bit of a launch with the slipstream, but Kaufman should come back at him in top speed by the end of the Kemmel straight. Down they come into the chicane now. Sanchez, job done, and he's now on the back of his championship rival once again. Marinon's moved himself up ahead of David Iskro into 7th place. Roger Moore still some 4.9 seconds off the back of Florian Haas. Holstein's up to 7th. There's also a few other drivers making places. Yannick Vonenberg's up to 9th. Poleshny's up to 10th, and Mistretta in 11th. Poleshny's now just got past Vonenberg on the timing screens as well as Alejandro Sanchez now 0.5 of a second behind his championship rival, and has to apply the pressure that Schmiedl applied to him in this race. We're nearly approaching the halfway mark of this race as well, and Schmiedl, does he have more left in the tank to go the full distance and to make sure he can pull away from Sanchez? Right hand side of your screen you see Wojciech Poleshny putting pressure on Devin Iskro now to make a move. Left hand side is the two leaders still battling it out, and here is Poleshny now trying to get closer, and he's got the whole straight here to try and use that slipstream, that draft, slingshot himself past by the time he gets to the chicane, but he's just getting closer ever so little. It's not enough at the moment for Poleshny. By the time they hit the brakes then, as Marinon's got past Vonenberg just tumbling down the order. Schmiedl pumps in the fastest lap of a 47.410, so an absolutely blistering lap from him there. And Poleshny still cannot do anything about Devin Iskro at this moment in time. Back on board Alejandro Sanchez then. Up over El Rouge they come. He'll start to feel a bit of benefits from that slipstream now. The hole being punched in the air by Michael Schmiedl's car, as this is Christoph Holstein getting himself past Kevin Abbey then. And into P6 he goes. He's got some 4.5 seconds before he can catch Holstein. There is Kevin on the back, trying to get that move back done over Holstein then. Bit of a queue there. Look, you see that is Iskro and Poleshny in the background. Mistretta not far off the back of Poleshny though, as he's outbraked himself. You saw there in the background did Wojciech Poleshny. Just went a little deep. Sanchez still within 0.5 second of Schmiedl in what has been a dominant season from your current race leader. Mistrata and Marinon have both got past Polezny, so has he made a mistake somewhere then? Because he's now down into P11, back into P10 it says though, so he's obviously made another place back up there then. So great battles going on up and down the pack here in the Ardennes Forest. As here is Mark Gasner down in 16th place. He's on the back of Fabio Vettiger, and he's got Jan Tufen on the back of him as well, with Florian Haas, who's right. In fact, he's not. He's past Tufen now. Mistretta gets past Kevin Abbey. So place is changing. Smeedle once again fastest lap of the race. Sanchez though sticking to him, still down at half a second. It's just dropped under half a second now. So Alejandro Sanchez then, he's coming back at Mikel Schmiedl now as we enter pretty much halfway in this race. Alejandro Sanchez hasn't given up on this quest yet of taking this championship. Roger Mart 4.6 seconds, and after starting on the front row of the grid, as Gasner's got himself past Haas. So that is a move done there. We didn't see that one, but nonetheless, job done still. For Roger Mart, what could have been for him today. Look at this battle though. Gasner, Vettinger and Haas. Side by side is Gasner and Vettinger. Into Les Combs they go, and Haas thinks I'll try around the outside. That's not going to work, says Vettinger. Back comes the door shut, and down the hill once again. There you go on the 8th lap. Alejandro Sanchez's gap has just increased a little bit, as Loro is no longer on the back of the race leaders. He's some 3 seconds. Wow, that's a lot of curb from Fabio Vettiger there, and that could really hurt him in terms of Haas getting on the back, but he's not close enough. Tufen though, oh, that's a line, that's very wide there, and unfortunate that. You will not want to gain time with track limits, that is for sure. Roger Mart 3.5 seconds, slowly making some inroads here. Wojciech Polezny then, nice and relaxed. He can see 2 cars in front of him. More places, more points. P9 at the moment is Wojciech Polezny. So he's just inside the points, but he'll want a few more nonetheless. And is he going to think of sending one? No. Cars in front though, both locking up, and that could compromise their run through the chicane. And Wojciech Polezny definitely found a little bit of time there coming through the chicane, and has definitely made a chance to have a look. He's pulled out now and shows his nose to David Iskro then, and say hello, knocking on your door here, as Marinon and Gasner's dropped down the standings. In fact, Gasner has now been overtaken by Roger Mart, so Gasner must have had a big off, because Mart was some 4 seconds behind the rest of the pack. He's now only 2.9 off the back of Tufen then. So what has happened there? Marinon's back ahead of Vertiger, and this is Polezny trying to get past Devin Iskro, and I think he did do it there. There is Mark Gasner then. Yes, he did. Polezny did get past Iskro. So, job done, P8. He now heads after Mistretta. It's a big gap then to Holstein, so he'll want to get this done sooner rather than later to be able to try and chase down P6. But 8th place, more points in the bag for Wojciech Polezny at this moment in time. Here is Jan Tufen then, looking up the inside of the car in front, who is very wide in front of him. And all over the place as Jan tries to keep it going. That was Enrique Marinon. This is Fabio Vettiger then behind the pair of them. He's got Roger Mart hunting him down. 1.7 seconds is the gap now. So Roger Mart really coming here at the back of this pack. Alejandro Sanchez still 0.6 of a second off the back of Schmiedl. Can't do anything about it. There is Fabio Vettiger in Zurich. Back then to Devin Iskro, half a second off the back as the leaders cross the line. Sanchez 10th quicker on the last lap, and I tell you what, Javier Loro was quicker than the pair of them on the last lap. The top 3 all in the 47s, and then the time drops away until you get to Holstein, who is matching the pace of Schmiedl at this moment in time. So that could be good if he's to catch Mikel in front. Here is Alejandro Sanchez, who just found a couple of hundredths at the moment. Gap down to 0.6 of a second. He'll just get the benefits of a bit of slipstream now, and will slowly pull in that bright purple car of Mikel Schmiedl. As the 2 leaders then have just absolutely left the rest of the pack in their dust here, and they are fully determined. Look at the concentration Sanchez's face. 110%, you can guarantee that he's giving it in that cockpit. And he knows that he'll want to be putting up as good a fight as he can. There's Lars Bulmer then, down in 12th place. Has got Vonenberg just in front of him, and Bulmer in the knockout qualifying session, his pace just seemed to drop off at the end, and he's got Vonenberg now just in front of him. And Vonenberg led this race, let's not forget, early on, and has just dropped down the standings here at the moment, just gone backwards so far for Lars. A sniff of a P11 maybe, an opportunity to get an extra place with David Lademade and Florian Harsch just behind the both of them. Angelo Mikel, P5, gaining on the back of Kaufman then. It's going to take a lot for this man to gain on the podium place of Javier Loro. Bit of a mistake there from Kaufman out the chicane, bit of a wiggle, and that's allowed Angelo Mikel the opportunity. Here comes Lars Bulmer around the outside of the chicane on Vonenberg. Vonenberg locked up there, and Lars just trying to get the better run. And Vonenberg's pulled to the left-hand side very, very early. That he's had a poor run through the chicane. And look at Lars Bulmer here. Send one up the inside. Not just, but forces Vonenberg to miss his apex there. And Lars Bulmer now really putting Vonenberg under some pressure. Let's stay with this. Let's see this up Eau Rouge. Let's listen. Does he have a lift? Slight dab of the brake just as he comes to the bottom of Eau Rouge and Radion, and that then doesn't really compromise his run as he flicks it right at the last moment and now pulls out to have a look. They're both going to reach top speed. Vonenberg trying to close Bulmer to the grass, but he's got to leave him a car's width on the outside. He does so, and how late did Lars Bulmer brake there, and somehow manages to make the position stick. Great move. Vonenberg's down to P12. He's going to have David Lademade on the back of him as well, as David Lademade is trying to make up a place or two. Well, I think David Lademade has just had a mistake. He's dropped down behind Haas and Marinon now, so it's now Florian Haas that can have the chance to attack the back of Vonenberg. Now Alejandro Sanchez. Does that purple car of Schmiedel look a little bit closer, I wonder? Is he going to have a look towards the chicane, try and brake later? It's a few hundredths closer. It's about a tenth closer than it was when he was last time on board him. Half a second just over for Sanchez to Schmiedel in this race, and it's half a second from that championship being decided as well in this race. Schmiedel, great exit from the chicane. The gap though stays the same. Sanchez this lap 2/10 quicker. He is really coming then on the back of Michael Schmiedel in this race. Javier Loro matching the pace of the leaders, just not able to stick with him. Kevin Abiz up into P9 ahead of Devin Iskro then. And what has happened to Roger Marks? He's dropped back down to 19th place. Here's Enrique Marinon on the right hand side of your screen, makes a move on Florian Haas then at the chicane. Vonenberg just up in front of him now to try and overtake. He was some 2 seconds quicker than Vonenberg last lap around. Sanchez definitely getting closer to Schmiedel now then. Where is Schmiedel stronger than Sanchez? Where is Sanchez stronger than Schmiedel? Ebbing and flowing from these two at the moment in terms of the time. Schmiedel did the hard work and got past, and Sanchez has just kind of stayed at half a second, 6/10 of a second to the back. Gazner's got himself past Vertinger. Here's Angelo Mikel now on the right hand side of your screen. On the back now of Ivan Koofman, this for P4. It's going to be a big ask for Mikel to get on the podium as we go to that battle now then. 4/10 of a second. Vonenberg, P12, has Haas on the back of him and he's trying to catch on the back of Lars Bulmer still. This man started P1 after a penalty to Alejandro Sanchez and has dropped down the order to P12 at the moment. There's a lot of order and Toofen there, and Gazner have all found their way past Enrique Marinon. So has Marinon had a problem somewhere? Because he's dropped to the back of the pack now, so he must have had a problem because Vertinger and Roger Mart have now got past as well. And Marinon down in 19th place. Let's take a look at a few replays then of what's happened in this race. Here's the start of Kevin Abiy then. And down towards the source, a great launch you saw there from Alejandro Sanchez. And on the brakes, round the outside. And look, all cleanly, a bit of a collision in the background. That was Fabio Vertiger, sort of playing pinball with the two cars in the background. Kevin Abiy bouncing off the yellow car of Alejandro Sanchez, and then that's when I think Roger Mart got the big whack up the rear of his Formula X 2022 hybrid car. And then more chaos further down the pack. Here's Fabio Vettiger just tapping the red car in front round, and that move was never really on. Schmiedl and Alejandro Sanchez. Here's Wojciech Polezny up the inside. Yeah. Good move from Polezny there. This is an overhead look at it, so let's have a look. Yeah, not a bad move. Car on the outside, didn't see him come in and maybe should have backed out of that one. Gazna then. Look at this, trying to squeeze up the inside as we go back to the action. Kevin Abbey. P10 on the back of Devin Eastgrove for some more points. Roger Mort has been overtaken by Enrique Marinon, so it just hasn't gone right for the man who started on the front row of the grid. So Abbey now on the back of Eastgrove. Can he find himself a couple more points in this race at the moment? Here is Florian Haas. I do believe that's Vonenberg behind him, so he's got himself past Vonenberg. Yes, he has, and that is Lars Bulmer. So for Haas here, a chance at P11. He's 3.2 off the back of the points and running out of laps. It's a big ask for him to do that. Sanchez has got the gap down to under half a second here, so he's coming at Schmiedl once again. Quicker last lap. So Sanchez trying to keep that pressure on, and he's running out of time. Lap 14 or 17, he's got to get it done sooner rather than later. Yannick Vonenberg under pressure from David Ladamada and Jan Tufen. As look at Lars Bulmer and Haas going side by side towards the chicane they come now. And does Bulmer keep hold of that position? We'll see as they come through. No! Haas takes 11th place away from Lars Bulmer there then, and Yannick Vonenberg got bird's eye view of that. This battle though, Sanchez, if he needs to get close enough to make a move, he's got to do that now. 4/10, under 4/10 of a second. He's charging here. He's made sure he saved some power in the tank, and he's now at 120% and exploiting every advantage of this car and making sure he can extract every inch of perfection out of it. Still fully determined and focused, just bouncing off the curbs there. That may have lost him a little bit of time to Schmiedl, but he is as close as ever. Gap gone back up to 7/10. Schmiedl had a fantastic middle sector over Sanchez. Was that due to him bouncing off the curb? Here is Schmiedl then. Kind of a grin on his face there as he's driving a little bit, or is that him just fully focused? Deep breaths from Schmiedl as well, making sure that he knows what he's doing. 0.8 of a second that gap's gone up to, so somewhere in the middle sector Sanchez has lost nearly half a second to Schmiedl, and all that hard work he's just done to set him back up has now gone. Devin Eastgrove's lost out to Kevin Abbey, trying to fight back for P9 and 10. This is then with Haas in the background, 2.9 behind. He's not a million miles away, and still plenty of time in this race to get something out of it. Sanchez there, look, lost nearly a second to Schmiedl on the last lap. So what has happened to Alejandro Sanchez? He's 1.4 behind Schmiedl now. He's definitely made a mistake at the chicane, because he was only 0.8 of a second behind coming up towards it. So what has happened to Alejandro Sanchez at the chicane? Is that game over with 3 laps to go? Well, only time will tell, and you've got to keep the pressure on, and this is where Schmiedl has won this. Has won many fights this season. He's just outdone the other drivers in the lesser mistakes made. Holstein's got himself past Kaufman. That is for P5 and 6, and that is another set of points for Christoph Holstein there then. Here comes Devin Eastro using that slipstream over Kevin Abbey to try and make up some more places, and he's dragging him in. Will it be enough by the time they get to the comms braking zone? He's going to have a look and brakes earlier, thinks better of it. Mark Gazner's got him sent ahead of 2 for a bit of a wiggle there for Eastro, holds on to it beautifully. On board with him in the Camptal Racing Lounge then. And he's just doing everything he needs to do to try and get that 9th place back. A little wide though there, David Ladamada. Now he on the back of Yannick Vonenberg. And Yannick Vonenberg trying to come back at Lars Bulmer here then. So we'll have to see if they can make up any more places throughout this race. One of the closest battles On the grid here is David Lademade, here in Munich, in Kemptal as well. Bit of traffic in front, bit of traffic behind. He's kind of in the middle of a couple of cars here and could make a few places, could also lose a few places. Back to Devin Eastro. As lap 60 in the race leaders start, and Schmiedel's extended his gap 2/10 extra, so it's 1.6 the gap now. Devin Eastro just locking up into the chicane, manages to get it stopped and turn through. He was bang on. Oh, look at that, 2 thousandths of a second separated Kevin Abbey and Devin Eastro on the last lap. There is a lock up there from the red Formula Evo hybrid car into La Source, and making Devin Eastro just a bit closer and able to be in that slipstream a little bit more as they come up through Radion now. Look at the closing speed from behind. He goes to that outside line, and that isn't the line to be taken. He's going to get past here at the moment, but Kevin Abbey will come back at him by the end of the Kemmel straight. Eastro round the outside. Job done, easy as you like. Great manoeuvre then from Devin Eastro back into 9th place. David Lademade has got himself past Lars Bulmer in the background as well. So that is another position for him gained. Kevin Abbey then down in 10th. Can he come back at Devin Eastro? 1.5 laps to do so. And for Kevin Abbey then, it's all about getting in that slipstream and staying there. There is David Lademade. Him and Yannick Vonenberg have both got past Lars Bulmer, so Lars Bulmer's pace just starting to drop off again here, like it did in the knockout qualifying towards the very end. Interesting to see. Teufen on the back of Lars Bulmer, and that then is something that he might want to do. But this man starts the final lap of this race. He's been caught by Sanchez a little bit, but the gap still 1.4. It's going to take something magical from Alejandro Sanchez to take this race win away from Schmiedel. Did the hard work in the knockout qualifying, made 4 places on the opening lap, did the rest over the course of the race, and then since he's got past this man, he hasn't need to look behind him once. And what must be going through this man's mind? He had pole position took away from him, and then he lost out to Schmiedel. Here is David Lademade getting closer to the back of Yannick Vonenberg then as they just start the final lap of the race as well. Vertiger's on the back of Enrique Marinon. Gasner and Bulmer trying to get past each other, as well as Jean Teufen. And for Lademade, can he make up an extra place, get himself a top 12 finish? What about Kevin Abbey? He's dropped to a second behind Devin Eastro now, so Eastro looks like he's got that one on. A bit of weaving down the Kemmel straight. And through nicely. It's going to take a lot of work for Lademade to get this one, but the final part of the lap, flat scat from Mikkel Schmiedel here, and you have to say it's been a champion's drive nonetheless. It's been absolutely fantastic all season from this man, and he's played it so clever. He knows when to attack and when to defend. He knows when to not make the moves. But Mikkel Schmiedel here, he's going to win at Spa, and he's going to win the Racer League Championship here at Racing Unleashed. Alejandro Sanchez across the line for a P2. Great fight from the pair of them. And you can see the joy on his face. Javier Loro P3, Angelo Miquel P4 from him, and Sanchez there, headset off. What could have been maybe Devin Eastro. He's going to, gets it all sideways out the final chicane, but he's far enough ahead that he manages to hang on to that as Kevin Abbey holds off from Haas for the final point scoring position. Holstein crossed the line for 5th. There is Javier Loro, your 3rd place man. Obviously all results are provisional, and we will get a confirmation on the final result, but at the minute as it stands, Schmiedel is your champion. There is Mark Gasner, 15th place for him. Lars Bulmer 16th. I don't know if that's because he's pulled up. We will find out the classification at the end, but there is Schmiedel with behind Sanchez, and I think he just wants to, these two are still racing, I think. I don't know if he's trying to go alongside to say thank you or if they're still having a battle. The checkered flag has flown, boys. You can relax now, you can breathe now. But Mikkel Schmiedel, what an absolute demon drive that was. And he is your Racer League champion. With 3 races still to come in the calendar. Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya next in September. And how do you feel for this man? Not really been in the championship fight, but he's had to, he was in a fight today. He was in a fight today and he just couldn't deliver the final blows to Smeedle. It was Smeedle who got the knockout punch in the end for the championship. Javier Loro, he'll be a happy man. A P3 for him, a pretty quiet race for him. He got into P3 and didn't really have to do much more than that, to be fair. A very quiet race on his side of the cockpit. We now have Javier Loro in the interview box with us. Javier, a pretty quiet race, but a good podium.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with it. Not a lot of battles. Easy start. In Les Coms was a huge one because I almost crashed into two guys that have spun out. But yeah, a really calm race and really happy with the result.
Got to be happy with that podium, like you said. Not really a lot to talk about for yourself today, was it? Talk us through that crash that happened. How close was it coming to you making contact?
I mean, in the start when they were going to take Les Coms, I mean, they were like in 4 wide, I think. So it was obvious that it was going to be a crash in some point.
Get through that, and the rest was history, wasn't it? P3. Very well done, and we move on to Catalunya next time around for yourself. Hope to see you on the podium again.
Let's see. I hope to.
Best of luck. And that was Javier Loro then. P3 for him. And we can now speak with Alejandro Sanchez. And Alejandro, just not to be today.
Well, we'll see. They gave us some penalties in the qualifying for some stuff to happen, and I hope they are consistent this round with Smeedle, since he pushed me off the track in lap 1. Of course, he has great pace and maybe he deserves to win, but things are things and penalties should be given.
Yeah, you look like you had great pace out there yourself. You was matching it and quicker than Smeedle at times. You just made one mistake towards the end that made that gap a little bit too big.
Yeah, I didn't want to get a restrictor penalty. I had 3 off tracks already, so I tried to give up some time to not improve the average of the race so far. So I just played it safe and yeah, just let him go, hoping that he will get a penalty.
A podium nonetheless. At the minute it is P2. You've got to still be happy with that. A few incidents that was very close to you early on in the race and you managed to avoid them.
Yeah, I'm happy with the way I drove, of course. Maybe if I didn't make that mistake with the off tracks, it would have been better, but overall happy with my driving, of course.
Well done today, my friend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we can now confirm that the top 3 is the final result. And this man on your screen now is the Racer League champion. And what a moment that must be.
Well, obviously, first of all, thank you. It was obviously great. I mean, I was kind of worried after I think it was lap 2 or 3 when I had a touch with Alejandro Sanchez that I'm gonna be given a penalty, but I gave him the place back and also left a few car lengths there, so I wouldn't like overtake him on the next straight, which would be unfair. So if it's like confirmed, I can now celebrate, I guess.
Yeah, that is confirmed. You are the champion. Well done. Talk us through today's race, because it was a very good race from yourself. Very patient, and then you did the job when you needed to.
Well, obviously the knockout didn't went that well because I was losing so much time behind the others. So the other quick drivers could actually make up a few places more compared to me. So that was a little bit like depressing, I would say, after the knockout. But I knew that I had a pace, so I was just waiting for the opportunities, and it was again worth it. I mean, I wasn't that aggressive, but on the other hand, I wasn't even that like nice to people as well. So it was kind of a balance, I would say. So yeah, it was enough, and I'm happy that I secured the championship on my favorite track.
talk us through the season, because it's been a fantastic season from yourself, by you. You've really drove brilliantly this season. To wrap it up, 3 races from the end is fantastic.
Well, to be honest, in general, this whole year has been really nice to me. I would say it has been brilliant season right up till this moment, and but there are still like 3 races remaining, and I want to be on the top in those last ones as well, and also in the Battle for Glory race. So the work never stops, I guess.
Look, that's brilliant to hear. I cannot wait to see what you do at Catalonia next month. Congratulations on the race win. Congratulations on the championship, my friend.
Thank you very much, and say hello to Dave from me.
Definitely will do. Thank you very much, and a very happy Michael Schmiedl then, champion and race winner here in the Racer League, and that then is a final result. So then we're getting ready for the podium, and here comes Javier Loro then to step into the podium for himself, and that it'll be a fantastic P3 for him and a job well done. The minute he gets his trophy given to him, where is it? There it is, there we go, and a P3 for him, a round of applause, and a very, very happy man. I'm sure that'll go on the mantelpiece at home with a place of pride. As we head to thank you there, Javier. As we head then stay in Madrid for Alejandro Sanchez, and we heard in his interview he was hoping the race control was going to be consistent. I'm taking it he's not going to be very happy with the result, but either way still can be happy with a P2 and his performance today, because he's had a very good performance in the knockout qualifying and in the race, and I'm sure, or I hope, we expect to see him on the podium in just a moment. Here he comes now. There he is, look. Discontent with second in the championship. Happy though with second place, a number 1 there. Oh, is that suggesting that he maybe should have won the race from him in his point of view? Either way, second place, he'll be happy with that. And again, a lovely podium setting there to Sebastian Hirsch as well, and a high five, a hug, and the trophy. And Schmiedl is number 1 in the Racer League Championship, not just for the race today, but for the championship as well. And that confirms the prize money of the 15,000 Swiss francs in his back pocket at the end of the season. And what a touching tribute that is as well to Sebastian in the background, and I'm sure he'd dedicate that win to him. And hopefully we have Sebastian back in our racing lounges soon. Speedy recovery, my friend. We hope to see you back on the track and in our racing lounges as soon as possible. And here's your final classifications then. Michael Schmiedl, Alejandro Sanchez and Javier Loro, your top 3. Wojciech Plesny and Devin Iskro with penalties rounding out the top 10. Yannick Vonenberg 11th, with Jijn Tufen, Enrique Marinon, Kevin Abi, David Lademorda and Fabio Vettinger, all with penalties themselves. And the classifications as follows. And Alejandro Sanchez second, with Angelo Michel in third. Javier Loro in fifth, and Florian Horst bringing in the top 10. 11th is then Dominic Dedic, with Sebastian Hirsch down at the bottom on 18th place.
Hi, my name is Ralf Möller. I'm the Chief Fitness Officer of Racing Unleashed. For esports, sim racing, physical and mental fitness is important. 30 to 60 minutes of exercises per day are important for your success. Use your bike instead of your car, or just take a walk. There are no excuses. Running, cycling, swimming or gym. Just keep it going. So get fit and fast with a Gladiator. Racing Unleashed. See you soon.
Hey, brilliant. Ralf Möller then, our fitness ambassador, our chief fitness officer, to give him his accurate title, as it were. Welcome to Racing Unleashed. We're live from our circuit then that surrounds the Zurich airport, and what a phenomenal circuit it is. And we are getting ready to go racing with our Racer League drivers, of course. having seen the knockout qualifying phase and also the phase of gear up free practice, where the drivers are getting their feet in and getting their eye in terms of this really challenging circuit. And here we can give you the way it looks then. Yannick Vonenberg from Fabio Vettiger in terms of the grid, with Mark Gasner, Jan Teufel, Enrique Marinon, Angelo Michel, Alejandro Sanchez, then Loris Mistretta, Wojciech Polesny, Devin Iskro. They are the first 10 places ahead of Mikael Schmidl. He's got some overtaking to do. Christoph Holstein, Florian Hasse, Javier Loro, Kevin Aby and David Ladamada then. That's the way it looks for our Challenge 9 then. Where has the season gone? It's gone by in a flash and gone by in relentless excitement and great racing as well that we have enjoyed on our way to, of course, the grand finale. Which is at Imola. And there you can see the prize money that our drivers have enjoyed across the course of the season. And in the Racer League, as you can see, P1 means $3,500 in your hand if you take the win, and 2.5, and all the money's distributed down to P10, over 200,000 Swiss francs in prize money in terms of the total fund. Now, this is the prize money for the Battle for Glory, which is the non-championship event which takes place in December, with the Challenger drivers and the Racer League drivers taking part in that Battle for Glory at the secret track. I still do not know. I have asked so many questions and asked so many people, and they're not revealing it to me. It's on December the 11th. Make sure you diarise that date so that you can be with us for the Challenger League and the Racer League Battle for Glory, which rounds out our calendar. In terms of the championship, just one more event to do after this event, race 9 here at the Zurich Airport Circuit. Of course, it's Imola where we head to for the Challenger League on the 12th of November and the Racer League on the 13th of November. The grand final coming at Imola then, and please make sure you join us for that. It will be awesome. Have no fear. So everyone is getting ready then for the race to come around the Zurich Airport Circuit today, and delighted that you are joining us as we bring all our lounges together, of course, in the spirit of our competition, whether it's here in Kemptal or Zurich or Madrid or Munich or Calm. All our drivers competing as one together in this wonderful competition, which is Racing Unleashed. Absolutely thrilled that you're with us, thrilled that the drivers are there, and of course providing such spectacle and entertainment for us in the name of all new motorsport. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Driving the Formula Hybrid Evo X 2022 cars. The simulator's made in Maranello, a place, of course, fair rich motorsport heritage, that's for sure. And the Zurich Airport Circuit is some 7 kilometers long and is a real demanding circuit and challenge for our drivers to get the very best out of, that's for sure. And we found that out during the gear up free practice session and also during the knockout qualifying as well earlier on today. To get the best out of this circuit, you have got to be very, very brave in places and sometimes very difficult to overtake, but some of our drivers have been able to nail it when it has been necessary. Let's see if they are able to do that during the course of the race to come. 30-minute race, of course, with Racing Unleashed and our Racer League drivers that are racing today. We saw the Challenger League drivers in action with the Zurich Airport Circuit yesterday, and it was very, very compelling to watch, that's for sure, and we're expecting much of the same today. So Race Control took a look at various incidents during the knockout qualifying, and that's why our grid will take perhaps a slightly different look in comparison to the way that the knockout qualifying finished. Let's take a recap now of what happened last time out. Where were we? A Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona.
It's green and go in the Racer League, and it is a great start from everybody, especially the guys on the front row who already are hunting down towards turn 1. As the camera pans out now, all spread out into turn 1 they come. Schmidl just patiently waiting, and up the inside goes a B. Round the outside goes Dominic Dedic, an absolute demon move into turn 1 and 2, and we've had a spinner. That is your pole sitter Yannick Vonenberg, who is off on the exit of the second corner, and a mistake already for him. But Kevin Aby now leads from Alejandro Sanchez, who's had a fantastic getaway from 6th up into 2nd place, and he's being chased down by Schmiedl and Mikel already. Dedic losing out through the first few corners, and he's down to 5th place. Schmiedl then P3 at the moment, a bit of a gap to him, and Mikel has got a train of cars behind him, but we know this guy will just patiently wait and bide his time. And Alejandro Sanchez now up the inside, race lead early on in this first lap, but look at Holstein here, the double slipstream from the 2 cars in front. He pulls out on David Ladamata now and into turn 1 up the inside. The 2 drivers from Kemptal, job done. Here's Javier Loro, who started P11. He's down in 16th place, so not the opener to this race that he'd have wanted then. And he is on the back of David Ladamata now, who just touches a bit of the curb, a bit greedy with it there, has a huge wiggle, and this could make Loro very interested. Send it into the hairpin. He does, gets alongside as Ladamata tries to close the door, but Javier Loro keeps his nose there, and Christoph Holstein makes Vertinger goes defensively. Will he look around the outside of turn 1? He's already got the move done before turn 1, and Christoph Holstein, as easy as you like, he's carving through this field like your Christmas turkey dinner. Polesny follows him and goes with him and just gets closer and closer, and Gazner moves once, holds his ground in the middle of the track, forces Polesny the long way around, and Polesny then a little wide and has to return that place back to Gazner. The car in front, who's they both lock up, all 3 drivers lock up into turn 5, and Kaufman round the outside. Job done. Keep it nice and tidy, Dominic. Now he's really close, and the 3 cars behind all getting the benefit of a slipstream. Can Dominic Dedic here pull out and make a move on the rear wing of Kevin Abir, who goes defensive to Dominic Dedic, who pulls to the outside now of turn 1 and has the move done? Not just yet. He does now at turn 1, holds it for turn 2, and that is Dominic Dedic into P4. And it's been a long time coming. A very patient Kevin Abir, who loses out to Dominic Dedic very wide, and through goes Gazner, through goes Polesny. Dedic gets the place back, and now Polesny looks to make a move on Gazner, who was slow through turn 3, and Polesny to the outside of 4. Can he hang it around the outside and keep a nose in for 5? No, he can't. And Gazner, late lunge from Wojciech Polesny, late on the brakes, tapped the back of Gazner there, and you might want to back out of that one and tuck him behind. He does now attacks once again into the chicane, and these 2 side by side. Polesny just gives him enough room, and that allows now Enrique Marinon to come through past Gazner, and he gains another place. Fantastic battle here. Alejandro Sanchez, he's already crossed the line and has won this race in great fashion. We missed that. He's been on his own in this one. Angelo Mikel will get his P3, and a very good congratulations to him for that one as he lifts it high, and Schmiedl getting the 2nd place, and a very, very good job today in Munich for them too. Victorious in Madrid, and he receives his trophy, a shake of the hand, and a P1 for Alejandro Sanchez. A very, very good job from him.
This is Racing Unleashed Beyond the Pinnacle.
Hold on to your hats. We are on the grid. Who is going to be king of the late breakers? Excellent on-board shot. Michael Schmiedl is throwing absolutely everything at this, including the kitchen sink.
And he is a fighter, a warrior. And look at this! Look at this!
Unglaublich!
Wow, qué pelea!
I'm loving this.
Take your hat off and give him a bow. He's already in the lead, and now he can sail off into the sunset.
This is Racing Unleashed.
And welcome to our grid then, as we are about to go racing here at our Zurich Airport circuit. Going from P16, David Ladamata here in Kemptal. In our racing lounge in Zurich is Kevin Abir, then he goes from P15. So the 8th row of the grid is complete. Let's go to the 7th now, where we find Javier Loro in Madrid. He is going from P14. Florian Hasser then. The Munich driver, he goes from P13 on our grid. That is the 7th row. To the 6th row, where we find Christoph Holstein in Zurich and Michael Schmiedl in Munich. And let's check in with Christoph Holstein now. He's in Zurich and he's going from P12. Christoph, target overtaking quite a few cars ahead of you, I imagine.
Yes, as per usual.
Christoph, this Zurich airport circuit, it's really, really demanding. You don't get a moment to even breathe. It's going to be hard work from the get-go, isn't it?
That's true. I mean, there's a lot of breathing space on the back straight, I guess. But apart from that, yeah, definitely a tricky circuit, especially also with some walls nearby, gravel traps. So yeah, should be a good one.
Looking forward. Best of luck to you, Christoph Holstein. Michael Schmiedl, the first time I've been able to speak to Michael since, of course, he has sealed the championship. Michael, many, many congratulations to you. You are, of course, the champion, and I was utterly gutted to not be here to say those words. Of course, my colleague Matthew was doing that. You've got some overtaking to do from P11 as well, Michael, haven't you?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Dave. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tricky, especially on this track where a lot of collisions were happening. So I expect the same for the actual race, and yeah, just will do my best like I always do.
I said during knockout qualifying as we were watching you and you got tagged there, and I said, actually, you may have the championship under your hat. You're a racing driver. You're a racer. You still want to go forward, don't you?
Exactly. I'm not here to finish P10 or whatever, you know.
Well, we wish you the best of the luck when it comes to the race this afternoon. Thank you for talking to us. Michael Schmiedl then, who's in Munich. What a great guy, what a great driver. We'll see what he can do from P11 on the grid, and my suggestion is that he will be going forward. Devin Isgro is in final stages of preparation here in Kemptal. You can see to the right-hand side of your picture, he is going from P10. And Wojciech Polesny, our Munich-based driver, is going from P9. And you can see that Wojciech Polesny also inside the cockpit of our wonderful simulators, ready to do battle. That was the 5th row of the grid. Let's go now to the 4th row of the grid, where we find Loris Mistretta. He's in Calm, and he is going from P8. So, Loris Mistretta, it was a very, very interesting knockout qualifying. How was it to actually be competing in it, Loris?
Yeah, sorry, I don't have so much. How can I say it? I don't talk very good because I'm sick. So, but the qualifying was quite different from the other ones because I always started much more behind, and now I started, I think, 8th or something like that. So, yeah, let's see what happens.
We wish you a speedy recovery, Loris, and thank you for talking to us when you're not feeling very well. To the best of our knowledge, in peak physical fitness is Alejandro Sanchez. He's going from P7 on the grid. Alejandro, that means there are 6 cars in front of you that are in your target sites, presumably.
Yeah, the objective for today is, of course, moving forwards and not downwards and out of the track, of course. And yeah, hopefully it's gonna be interesting with the draft, because if you make a move, then they can give it back to you on the straight and overtake you again, which is what happened on the qualifying race, which was a little bit hectic. But we'll see where we end up, and hopefully we end up better than P7.
We wish you the best of luck, and thank you for talking to us. Alejandro Sanchez and Loris Mistretta then on the 4th row of the grid, taking time to talk to us. Really appreciate it. Angelo Michel and Enrique Marinon then, they are P6 and P5. As you can see, Angelo Michel driving in our lounge in Munich, and Enrique Marinon driving in our lounge in Madrid. As we get to the sharp end of our grid now, P4 is Jan Teufen, and Jan Teufen is going from our Zurich lounge, and as I say, he's going from P4. And Mark Gasner then, an impressive knockout qualifying from Mark Gasner, he goes from P3. Then it's Fabio Vattiga going from P2 on the grid, and Yannick Vonenberg then, and we spoke to him just before, or just at the end of that knockout qualifying. Yannick, P1, it's got to be trying to get into that turn number 1 and leaving yourself enough space so that you're not bothered by all the traffic behind you, I assume, Yannick.
Yes, that's right. So it's 3rd pole in a row now. and hopefully some points this time after a lot of bad luck in the last race.
And that is that your luck has got to change, hasn't it? You know, you've already proved your race pace and your exceptional talent as a racing driver. It's converting that P1 in qualifying up to P1 in the result.
Yeah, that would be the best scenario. I hope for it's a position in top 10.
We wish you well, Yannick Vonenberg. Let's take a look at the fast facts then, as we have gone through our entire grid of cars and we are about set to go racing. So the Zurich Airport circuit, absolutely exclusively for Racing Unleashed. Some 7.6 kilometers of tarmac, 16 legendary turns that are named appropriately, and it is, as I said, the exclusive circuit for Racing Unleashed, where we battle on the RU, the Racing Unleashed runway, of course. Coque Lopez left-hand side, Michael Smeedle on the right-hand side of the screen. Coque Lopez heads towards the checkered flag and takes the checkered flag with more than 5 seconds of margin. And that's what it was like last year. Right, the BP turn number 1. What a funnel this is when you come from the circle into that turn number 1. And we look at some of the famed turns then, including Ragazzoni. And again, you can see it's almost like a hairpin, and you're straight into another turn from Ragazzoni. Swiss S's. Very fast sweeping sequence of turns, so named because of the S shape, obviously. And then we take a look at Riga and Cargo. 2 turns that really link into each other as our fast facts continue. And now to yet another, seems to be a hairpin, the Cloten S, named after the village just outside the Zurich Airport circuit, Cloten. So there are fast facts. These are fast cars and fast drivers on the grid, ready to do battle in this race 9 of our Racing Unleashed Championship for 2022. We are at the Zurich Airport circuit then. Devin Iskro, we can see 5th row start for Devin Iskro. He goes from P10 on the grid. He's got 9 cars ahead of him that he's got to try and get by. Bear in mind, we're going to be seeing the lighting gantry, the virtual lighting gantry at the top of the screen. And that's another brilliant shot of the Devin Iskro simulated car that will be doing battle here. This is Fabio Vettiger then. Can he get the better of our pole sitter going into turn number 1? He's got the inside line, but of course he's a full car length behind. And of course Yannick will be doing everything he can to prevent that. Michael Smeedle, we spoke to him on the grid. He's got some work to do from P13. He is a racer. He wants to go forward and he wants to finish on an absolute high. Here comes the lighting gantry then, as we look at Angelo Michel then going from P6 on the grid. So we await the lights. Here they come. Stand by. Hold on to everything. We are about to go racing. The cars are released. The smoke screams off the tyres then. It looks like it's a very good start from Yannick Vonenberg. And Angelo Michel trying to carve his way through now. He's under pressure. And Michael Smeedle trying to go around as well. Now a couple of cars get out wide. Yannick Vonenberg then doing exactly as he said he wanted to do and he needed to do. And that is to put himself with a comfort of margin between anybody else. And Jan Teufen and Mark Gasner. And there's Angelo Michel then being squeezed out. So as the cars make their first few tentative turns around this extraordinary circuit, the Zurich Airport circuit. Angelo Michel and Christoph Holstein that we're on board with now. That target side of cars ahead of him. Here is Christoph Holstein. Currently running P7 and being chased by Wojciech Polesny. So it's Vonenberg from Gasner from Iskro. Great start from Devin Iskro. Really taking advantage of getting away right at the start. And here is Jan Teufen on the inside, but that so quickly becomes the outside, so stays in that P4 position with Devin Iskro running in P3 as Yannick Vonenberg really is escaping up the road like a rat that has been stabbed somewhat. Yannick Vonenberg from Mark Gasner from Devin Iskro, Jan Teufen, Angelo Michel and then Fabio Vettiger down there in P6. So not the start that Fabio Vettiger wanted in the first lap of this race here on the Zurich Airport circuit. 3 abreast we go. It is absolutely 100% commitment And there you can see it ahead of us as Christoph Holstein is able to take advantage of Devin Iskro dropping down the order now as a consequence. So it's Vonenberg from Gassner, Michel, then Teufen, Holstein, Vediger P6, then it is Loris Mistretta, Javier Loro, Devin Iskro and Kevin Aby into the top 10. And here is Devin Iskro then racing in our lounge here in Kemptal. In fact, I can actually see him from our commentary position here. First lap completed and we are racing and starting lap number 2 as Jan Teufen with Christoph Holstein closing. You can see just how close Christoph Holstein gets. Tries to take a look at the outside, but it's always the long way round and not the quickest way round. So for the moment, Jan Teufen able to hold on to that P4 position, but there's no question here that Christoph Holstein means business. Does he dive to the inside? He certainly take a look at it, but wasn't able to make it stick on that occasion. Surely it's a question of when, not if, Christoph Holstein tries to get advantage of Jan Teufen and move from P5 into P4. So here he comes again, lining him up here, and here's Mikael Smedel, P14. That's certainly not where he wants to be, and you can see him encroaching on the cars ahead of him. Where's he going to go, inside or outside? He chooses to go the outside of Haase. So Mikael Smedel then is denied at the moment and stays in that P14 position. Took a look at the inside then, but wasn't able to go by. So it's Haase ahead of him. Polesny right behind him, his fellow countryman, of course, from the Czech Republic, and Mikael Smedel then running in P14. A lot of cars ahead of him, a lot of traffic, a lot of cars for him to overtake to get himself into a really good and strong points-paying position. So, as we said when we were speaking to him right at the start, here is Alejandro Sanchez. A little bit of a love tap between the two there. Alejandro Sanchez moving up into P9. And plenty of focus and concentration as Alejandro Sanchez gets by Devin Iskro. And next in his target sights is Loris Mistretta. And then it will be Javier Loro. And Javier Loro under pressure now from Loris Mistretta, trying to come back at him here. So on board with Alejandro Sanchez, Devin Iskro behind. Then, of course, is Enrique Marinon and Kevin Aby. They're having a real battle over P11 at the moment. So Alejandro Sanchez and Loris Mistretta here. It's P8 and P9 that's being argued over. Whilst all this is going on, Yannick Vonenberg is trying to stretch his legs a bit, but Gassner is staying with him. There's only 3/10 between P1 and P2 at the moment. So Alejandro Sanchez stuck in the middle of this little battle then. You could just see in the background there Mikael Smedel and Kevin Aby continuing their fight, and Smedel does get by Kevin Aby and moves himself up into that P12 position. So still a way away from being in the points haul at the moment, but we are still early stages of this race. Here is Mark Gassner then. And Gassner is driving really, really well here, and he is not allowing Yannick Vonenberg to get away in the way that Yannick Vonenberg would want to. And I just wonder whether Mark Gassner is being very clever here and almost lulling Yannick Vonenberg into a false sense of security. We will see, but they do have, and Mark Gassner is going to have Angelo Michel for company very, very quickly. And now you can see that Angelo Michel is right on the gearbox almost of Mark Gassner. So Gassner will go from attacking to defending, and that will play into the hands of Yannick Vonenberg, who of course is, with clear tarmac ahead of him, is able just to set the pace. So what can Angelo Michel do in terms of trying to break away? You can see the drivers there trying to break the tow available to those cars behind. Basically that draft that you can get off the back of a car, as now here comes Mark Gassner to the inside of Yannick Vonenberg. But it's a long way around the outside here. But I tell you what, he has done it and done it really well. So Gassner then, perhaps I was right. Perhaps he was lulling Yannick Vonenberg into this false sense of security. And he struck then like a viper upon its prey and has gone through to pick up P1. And now, of course, Yannick Vonenberg is not able to attack back because his rearview mirrors are full of this man that we're on board with now, Angelo Michel, who's running in P3. So heading up towards the circle then, and around the circle straight, and that was a huge moment for Angelo Michel, who made contact with the barriers, and that is his race, as near as damn it, almost over. So disaster for Angelo Michel then, who was trying very, very hard. That elevates Christoph Holstein into P3, Jan Teufel into P4, Fabio Vettiger to P5, and then Javier Loro, Alessandro Sanchez, and the rest of the drivers, as you can see. So there is Jan Teufel now, inheriting a P4 position, and Christoph Holstein, of course, the big beneficiary, inheriting that P3. So the race order then, and Mark Gasner has really broken away from the hard-charging driver in P2 now, of course, who led Yannick Vonenberg from the very start. This is Mikael Schmidl. He's up to P11. What more can he do? How many more can he pick off before the end of this race? Well, we're not even at a third distance, so there's still a lot of tarmac to come between now and the checkered flag. And Mikael Schmidl is lining up Enrique Maranon and Devin Iskro ahead of him now. So there is Mikael Schmidl on the back of this three-way train for P9, 10 and 11. And where Mikael is very clever is he just chooses and spots his opportunity. And he will have been using previous laps to research exactly where is a good place to try and put the move on. And in the meantime, of course, Enrique Maranon is trying to have a go at the same time. And here's Javier Loro in P5. And Javier Loro then ahead of Fabio Vettiger, just behind Jan Teufel, as Schmidl continues his work on Devin Iskra. Javier Loro, P5, Fabio Vettiger, and here's Alejandro Sanchez, P7, and this could very quickly become P6. So around this Zurich Airport circle here, he's going to have the inside line for the first turn, unless the door is right royally closed on him. No, it isn't. King of the late breakers. He goes through to pick up P6 over Fabio Vettiger. He certainly had to brake late, but he did it very, very precisely. Gasner from Vonenberg, and Gasner with a very nearly a 2-second margin now at the lead of this race. We're on lap 5 of 15 here at the Zurich Airport circuit, and there is Alejandro Sanchez now chasing down Javier Loro. Devin Iskro P11 then, with Mikael Schmidl, the back end that he's looking at now, with Mikael Schmidl having moved into the points-paying positions and finds himself in P10 now and targets Enrique Maranon and Loris Mistretta ahead of him. You can see that from being on board with Devin Iskro here. Enrique Maranon then. Just a little bit of a wobble from the car in front, and then a wobble from Enrique Maranon in P9 as well. Just as the power goes down, the back end of the traction lets go. And Enrique Maranon, for the most part, controlling it absolutely well, but is not making perhaps the gap reduce between himself and Loris Mistretta as much as he would like. So Mikael Schmidl then is already lining up Enrique Maranon here. And he's got Maranon and Mistretta, so good for us to watch this, as there goes Enrique Maranon side by side. Mikael Schmidl very nearly onto his gearbox already. So the more these two fight, the beneficiary is Mikael Schmidl, because they are slower when they are battling together. So Mikael Schmidl trying to convert P10 into P9. He took a look at the inside for the left-hander, wasn't able to make it stick. And he's wise and wily, you know, and he'll know precisely where he can put it to try and make it work. Another lap is put in the book then. Alejandro Sanchez sets the fastest lap at 2:02.993. So can Schmidl now dive to the inside for turn number 1? That's precisely what he does. Job done, or is it? As Enrique Maranon tries to fight back, a well-executed overtake there from Mikael Schmidl that gives him P9, and next he targets Loris Mistretta now. So Mikael Schmidl on something of a mission to move himself up the order. It's Gasner leading by 3 seconds over Christoph Holstein, who has got by Yannick Vonenberg to pick up that P2 place. Then it's Jan Teufel, Javier Loro, Alejandro Sanchez, and here is Yannick Vonenberg then. As he said, 3 pole positions, and it's P3 at the moment for Yannick Vonenberg. Presumably, of course, he would like his luck to change and be able to convert the pole positions into the race lead, but that is held, as you can see, by Mark Gasner right now, and he really is stretching his legs. Alejandro Sanchez and Javier Loro Now, Javier Loro is proving quite a tall order for Alejandro Sanchez to get by, and Javier Loro's got really good race pace here. He's got Teufel and Vonneberg ahead of him, and Alejandro Sanchez has not been able to find a way yet. So onto the really smooth part of this circuit, and where you carry maximum speed, very nearly 300 kilometers per hour, 298. We just got to 301 on board with Alejandro Sanchez, as he now dives to what is going to become the outside of Javier Loro, but he's absolutely around the outside of Javier Loro. He'd got so much confidence in the grip afforded to him that he just sent it, and sent it so well. So Alejandro Sanchez now into P5. A podium is certainly well within his reach, I would suggest. So the two cars ahead of him are Jan Teufel and Yannick Vonneberg, and that would be up to the third step of the podium if he could displace both of those. So Michael Schmidl now sets the fastest lap. He has got by Fabio Vettiger and now finds himself in P7. So this is going to be a real dash for cash towards the end of the race, I would suggest, as the favoured runners, those that have performed so well during the course of the season, as Jan Teufel in a real battle here, and so too is Michael Schmidl. So many battles going on, we don't know which one to bring you, and Michael really squeezed there in his P8 position, and Michael Schmidl will come back, and he's having a real fight with Fabio Vettiger, having got the better of Fabio Vettiger. Vettiger decides to come back and have a go on Michael Schmidl. He's not daunted by the fact that the champion-elect is the car that he's fighting with. Alejandro Sanchez now by Yannick Vonneberg. He's into P4. This is Michael Schmidl. We split the screen so we can see both battles at the same time. Alejandro Sanchez reeling in. Jan Teufel gets the car very sideways. Michael Schmidl, he's got Fabio Vettiger to try and find a way by, and Alejandro Sanchez, I said a podium is not out of the question. It's one car away from a podium right now, and Michael Schmidl, he's still got a bit of work to do before he can find himself in a podium position, as Alejandro Sanchez to the inside of Jan Teufel goes through to pick up that P3 place, but Teufel will have the inside for this turn. But Alejandro Sanchez just so committed and having got so much grip available to him. But there you could see Jan Teufel was equally committed, and Alejandro Sanchez loses out. He will come again though and think about it one more time. And Alejandro Sanchez, and of course Yannick Vonneberg has got Javier Loro for company too. A little bit of a wobble there from Jan Teufel, which plays into the hands of Alejandro Sanchez in terms of cumulative speed around the circle straight now, which isn't a straight. One assumes that Sanchez will try and dive to the inside, but that's denied by Jan Teufel. It's going to be the long way around the outside, but then he'll try and nip underneath the car now. But that, of course, also becomes the outside for the next turn. So what a battle that is going on here for the final podium place between Jan Teufel and Alejandro Sanchez. Cannot take your eyes away from the screen. This is compelling racing. To the inside now. Jan Teufel closes the door. Alejandro Sanchez not able to go by. It's brilliant fair fighting between the two of them. Really enjoyable. Just about at half distance in the race. And Alejandro Sanchez, as Jan Teufel makes a mistake, and that's enough for Sanchez to go through to pick up that podium place. It's P3 for Alejandro Sanchez, and now he's got to set a series of quali laps to try and narrow the margin between himself and the P2 and P1 drivers. Jan Teufel really taking it to him, and he's under pressure from Yannick Vonneberg and also Javier Loro, and then it's going to be Michael Schmidl, and you can see him just getting onto the back of that battle now. Here's Javier Loro, and in his rearview mirrors he's going to be the all-encompassing Michael Schmidl. So Gasner from Holstein, from Sanchez, and Sanchez, as you can see, some 5 seconds he's got to try and find in the remaining half of the race, laps that are left in this race, and Schmidl tries to put it through the middle of these two. Oh, and absolutely awesome stuff from Michael Schmidl, threading like a knitting needle through the middle. Marvellous. Absolute joy to behold of a master at his craft. Michael Schmidl then, P5 next. Jan Teufel. He just took the advantage of the battle that was raging between Yannick Vonenberg and Javier Loro and threaded it through the middle. To be fair to both those drivers, racing room was left for him, and he was just able to make it stick. Awesome stuff. So now, Jan Teufel, he tries to reel in like he's on the end of his fishing line, as Michael Smeedel is fishing for success here. So I said, for Alejandro Sanchez, a podium is not out of the question. What are we? We're on lap 9 of 15. I think a podium for Michael Smeedel, despite his absolute prowess, is going to be a real tall order here, because the drivers are just getting away, those that are running in P1, 2 and 3. So he needs to dispose of Jan Teufel as quickly as possible. And we're on board with Jan Teufel now, with Michael Smeedel coming at him. Just a wobble there from Michael Smeedel, but now you see in the more technical parts of the circuit, this is where he proves his perhaps superiority, the technical parts of the track. You could see the car sliding in front of him as Jan Teufel trying to find the grip, and Michael Smeedel throwing everything at it. And now the fastest part of the circuit. Can Smeedel put himself right alongside the car of Jan Teufel? Well, not quite. Takes a look at the outside, but now he is on his gearbox. Dives to the inside. Surely it's job done for Michael Smeedel, and this has got to be P4, has it not? Well, Jan Teufel is not taking it lying down, but Michael Smeedel has done enough. And now his target sights will be Alejandro Sanchez, current champion and champion-elect, together P3 and P4. Fabio Vettigo running in P10, as Javier Loro also able to get by Jan Teufel, and so too Enrique Maranon. Here's Javier Loro then. Split shot there. We can see him in the simulator, and also how the inputs from the simulator are working. As here we can see Yannick Vonenberg and Enrique Maranon. Alejandro Sanchez setting the fastest lap at 2:02.498, as he knows that Michael Smeedel is coming calling. Michael Smeedel has got something of a 2.5 second margin to try and get on terms with Alejandro Sanchez, and of course, all very well being as quick as Alejandro Sanchez, he's got to find a way by him as well. So 5 laps remaining, because we are on lap 10 of 15. And Yannick Vonenberg, who of course started P1, now finds himself in P8 ahead of Loris Mistretta, with Jan Teufel ahead of Yannick Vonenberg in P7. So the order is Gasner from Holstein, and Gasner has lost time to Holstein. It's down to 6/10 between P1 and P2, and Sanchez is calling, and Michael Smeedel is really narrowing the gap now as well. Here is Christoph Holstein that we're on board with, running in P2, and surely Christoph Holstein is just anticipating where he's going to be able to have a go on Gasner. You can see Gasner trying to break the slipstream advantage that he unwittingly could pass on to Christoph Holstein, which is just what he doesn't want to do. So it is Gasner doing the bidding in P1, with Christoph Holstein doing the chasing. And you can see both of them are some distance ahead. Well, 4 seconds ahead of Alejandro Sanchez, and then Michael Smeedel a final further 2 seconds behind. So Holstein then in this hunt for P1. And a joy to watch as he tries to break the confidence of Mark Gasner just for a millisecond. Heading towards the circle now here at the Zurich Airport circuit. Holstein's not quick enough to send it, I would suggest, to the inside, or is he? No, he chooses the outside and then carries a little bit more speed than Gasner, but still has to settle for being behind as they go underneath the Flughafen Zurich sign. And again, you can see Mark Gasner trying to position the car absolutely perfectly, not only to give him a good propel around the turn, but also to deny Christoph Holstein the opportunity to come by. Christoph Holstein biding his time here, just studying every steering input from Gasner ahead of him, so that he can see where he can try, like an arrow from a bow, to put his car right alongside and go for the target being P1. So Gasner from Holstein, what a brilliant race for P1 this is. There is barely 2/10 between the two of them. Cannot take your eyes away from this. Holstein, now has he got just the momentum to stay with it through this technical part of the circuit and line up another go, perhaps going into turn number 1. It's on the later stages of the lap where you begin to position yourself and set yourself up for a go going in towards turn number 1 on the fastest part of the circuit now, which is where Mark Gasner wants to break the slipstream effect on Christoph Holstein, and seems to do that with relative ease. Wojciech Polesny running in P13. He's got Haase ahead of him. And here is Wojciech Polesny. We split the shot. We see him inside the cockpit. Look at the determination and seriousness as Wojciech Polesny dives to the inside, but that becomes the outside for the next turn. And there is Polesny having got by. Great overtake there from Wojciech. He was committed to it and it worked for him. So it's still Gasner leading Holstein and Alejandro Sanchez. They are the top 3 with Michael Smeedel P4. And Wojciech Polesny now has Devin Iskro, and gifted that opportunity by Devin Iskro, who makes a mistake, and Wojciech Polesny doesn't need 2 invitations to go by, and he goes for it, as does Christoph Holstein now. So this is for the lead of the race. Christoph Holstein and Mark Gasner absolutely side by side. There is not the width of a cigarette paper between the two of them. And Gasner is able to hold on to this P1 position. But Christoph Holstein absolutely means business. Now, what's critical here is the more that these two fight, the more it means that Alejandro Sanchez can get on terms with them. And so, potentially, too, Michael Smeedel. Here is Alejandro Sanchez. What he wants is for them two to fight like never before. Because as they're fighting, it slows them. And that allows Alejandro Sanchez to use all his speed to get on the back of them. So on lap 12 of 15, I promised you earlier on that this could become a real dash for cash towards the end of the race. And I really do think that that is going to happen here, because Gasner and Holstein continue to remain in that P1 and P2 position. Alejandro Sanchez is nearly in the battle now, and so too, for that matter, is Michael Smeedel. Just love it when a plan comes together. And it looks like this plan is coming together. Here's Michael Smeedel. He is using absolutely everything that he's got. You can see he's not even lifting for some of the turns. He's throwing it into each and every turn that he can. Absolutely committed, confident in being able to hold on to the car as well, because you're driving on such a knife edge. The difference between being uber quick and making the minuscule mistake is so narrow. But Michael Smeedel proving why he is so good by being able to race as hard as he is. And Gasner for the moment has seen off Christoph Holstein, lap 13 of 15. We can't, yes we can. I was just going to say we can't quite see the Alejandro Sanchez car, the all-yellow Formula Hybrid X Evo 2022, but we can see it in shot now. So this becomes something of a 3-way fight any moment now, but we are running out of laps because we're on lap 13 of 15. So the remainder of this lap, which is going to be critical for Alejandro Sanchez to really get on terms with Christoph Holstein. You can see him throwing everything at this in much the same way that Michael Smeedel is. So those two drivers running P3 and P4, but these two, P1 and P2, as Christoph Holstein lights up the wick once again and gets ever closer to Mark Gasner. This is tremendous stuff. So he looks to the outside. Then he'll try and nip underneath the car of Gasner, but Gasner doesn't allow him the opportunity to do so. So Christoph Holstein, where is he going to try here? Well, to be fair, almost anywhere and everywhere. He will try, and what he wants is just to provoke the tiniest of mistakes from Gazner ahead of him, but Gazner, to be fair, is not making mistakes, and Sanchez now is nearly on the gearbox of Christoph Holstein as he goes to the outside, which will be the inside for the next turn. Is this going to be the decisive move for P1? Christoph Holstein, of course, is on the outside for this turn now, which means Gazner can come back. They're side by side. There is a touch between the two of them. The big beneficiary is Alejandro Sanchez, who now can become a real part of this fight. And disaster for Christoph Holstein, who goes around. Gazner, Sanchez, P1, P2 now, Mikkel Smeedel. I said a podium was going to be a tall order. Well, it is P3 now. There was nothing innocuous in terms of the contact there. I mean, I hope Race Control will look at that and think that really was just a genuine racing incident, because the drivers are just giving 120%. Absolutely awesome stuff. So it is Gazner from Sanchez, from Smeedel. We are on lap 14 of 15. Christoph Holstein, despite his valiant efforts, finds himself down there in P6. Here comes Mikkel Smeedel. So it's P3 at the moment. I thought a podium would be really, really tricky for Mikkel, but he's done it, and he's reeling in Alejandro Sanchez. So this is extraordinary. And of course, Alejandro Sanchez will be well aware of the fact Mark Gazner has got some 0.8 of margin between Sanchez and Smeedel. Can he hold on to that gap? It's reduced as Sanchez gets a bit closer. Sanchez, he'll be across his rearview mirrors, and he will know that Mikkel Smeedel is but 0.5 behind him. So the fight for P1, 2 and 3, and bear in mind, Javier Loro is running in P4. We're on board with Alejandro Sanchez then. P2, what can he do? Where can he do it to try and get by Mark Gazner? So Gazner leading from Sanchez and Smeedel. So there you can see Gazner again going into that strategy of trying to break the toe. And here is Smeedel. And is he just allowing those two ahead of him to fight so that he can pick up the pieces? Well, Alejandro Sanchez is not quite close enough to be able to really take that fight to Gazner at the moment. So, me predicting the real dash for cash at the end of the race could really come true. It could be a last lap lunge between these three. We're on board with our race leader, Mark Gazner. And we are about to start lap 15, the final lap, as Alejandro Sanchez now and Mark Gazner make contact. And that means Gazner is spinning like a top. So it's Sanchez, Smeedel, Javier Loro now. Well, that didn't play out perhaps in quite the way that I expected it to. As Mikkel Smeedel now P2, Alejandro Sanchez P1, and Javier Loro elevated, of course, to P3. Bear in mind, as they cross the line in about 3/4 of a lap's time, our race direction team will be busy and taking a look at every incident. There have been a couple of racing incidents which can be described as no more than that, but they have been pivotal in terms of how the race has shaped out. Mikkel Smeedel P2 then, from by his own admissions, lowly starting grid position, proving what a dominant force in Racing Unleashed he has been this year. And Alejandro Sanchez on track, leading the race. It's Mikkel Smeedel P2, Javier Loro, who is perhaps under threat for that P3, from Enrique Marinon, who's certainly close enough to be able to have a go for P3. Backmarking cars then, who do the gentlemanly thing and keep out of the way of those that are continuing to race and racing for critical point-paying positions. I think Javier Loro perhaps has got the measure of Enrique Marinon here and is just going to stick his elbows out and make the car as wide as possible to prevent him coming through, and it'll be a great podium for Javier Loro. And this is Alejandro Sanchez then, and running in that P1 position through this almost chicane. I love this tracking camera that we can bring you this shot. As Alejandro Sanchez heads towards the checkered flag. Around the circle he goes then, and he crosses the line having taken P1 on track. And then, of course, Mikel Smedel taking P2, Javier Loro P3, then it is Enrique Maranon, and there is Mikel Smedel. And he will be thrilled with that because from his lowly starting grid position, as I said, you know, he took advantage of those that were losing their head all around him. And here's Javier Loro then, as always, looking really, really cool in the car. And he takes a podium P3, Enrique Maranon P4, then it's Holstein, Teuf and Gasner, who you've got a feel for, P7, then Vettiger P8, then Mistretta, Polesny, Vonenberg, Yannick Vonenberg, bear in mind starting right at the front of the pack, Angelo Michael, Florian Hasse, Kevin Abe, and the rest of the order. So Wojciech Polesny is somewhat disappointed and out of his simulator. We could see him walking away. And, we will see. And as I speak, the race direction team are taking a look at some of the incidents during the course of that race. So live into the lounges we go to get instant reactions from everyone so that we can bring those wonderful pictures to you so that you can see exactly what it looks like in each and every one of our lounges. Of course, we bring them all together, the likes of Kemptal and Zurich and Madrid and Munich and Calm, with competitors in each of those lounges. And that are race 9 of our 10 race season done and dusted. Do bear in mind, Battle for Glory still to come though. And there we can see discussions going on. This Zurich Airport circuit, I have to say, designed specifically and exclusively for Racing Unleashed, does give us some utterly awesome action. That's for sure. And there is David Ladamada, who is in our Kemptal lounge. David Ladamada, who's been a steadfast member of the Racing Unleashed community and is a great driver. Perhaps we're not seeing the success this year from David Ladamada that maybe we thought. And there is Race Control. The 3 race stewards you can see on the pit perches, and standing right behind them is our driver ambassador, the extraordinarily experienced and successful Carl Wendlinger, who basically Carl is able to offer the racing stewarding panel his input as a driver so that he sees things very much from a driver's perspective. And therefore all of those racing stewards taking a look at each and every one of the incidents. They can slow the frames right down and do it frame by frame. And they've got access to lots and lots of data as well. And of course they look at absolutely everything there. Nothing if not firm, but utterly fair, and ensuring it is a very, very fair competition indeed. So that's what they're out, and that's what they're doing at the moment. So a really compelling race, and I said it was all going to come towards the end of the race, and by Jiminy it did. Perhaps some drivers taken or being advantaged by mishaps of others. And of course racing incidents that went on, and whether some of those racing incidents get penalised or not remains to be seen. Of course that is the responsibility of that race direction team. My goodness me, I'm jolly glad that that's not a responsibility that falls my way. You can see Devin Isgro on the elevated level there getting out of his simulator, and David Ladamada on the bottom level now out of his all-red simulator here at the Racing Lounge in Kemptal. So here, Alejandro Sanchez then in super slow-mo replay as he heads towards the checkered flag and across the timing line. And for the final time then, this is the provisional podium. Bear in mind, provisional only, with Alejandro Sanchez P1, Mikel Smedel P2, and Javier Loro P3. Provisional podium only, whilst Race Control take a look at all the incidents and action during the course of that race. And of course they may deem to make some changes. Let's take a look at some of the replays of just some of the action. Could bring you the whole program all over again because there was so much action in that, and you can see on Enrique Maranon there. Let's go on board with Wojciech Polesny here, who he did a big save there, managing to hold on to that car. And here's Alejandro Sanchez then, who certainly didn't have it all his own way, but making contact there, and Jan Teufen here being overtaken by both left and right. And the car's outbraking. Then Jan Teufen, minding his own business, kept his racing line. Alejandro Sanchez then really was in the thick of it and tries to go for a move down the inside. I would suggest that was perfectly fair. It was certainly a bold move, but one that he was going to take. And Wojciech Polesny doing much the same, although Wojciech Polesny not finding the car alongside him quite as unforgiving. So on that occasion, Wojciech Polesny was not able to make it work, and unfortunately, that was the result, as you can see. And Alejandro Sanchez, as I said, he was very much in the thick of it, having to use opposite lock to control the car then. And Michael Smeedel then, now bearing in mind he was fighting, now this was where I described him as like a perfectionist needlecraft person, just threading the knitting needle through those two cars was absolutely a joy to watch. True master racing driver Michael Smeedel then really enjoyed seeing that. So all the drivers then pretty much out of their simulators now, and the entire 1, 2, 3 positions, we are told, is under investigation, so nothing is guaranteed yet. There you can see not only Christoph Holstein to the very left-hand side of your screen, but you can also see Ciro Zambra and Yannick Pletcher, two of our Challenger League drivers who, of course, were performing yesterday. And Ciro himself was at the mercy of race control, and he knows what it's like. But the race control are, as I say, they're determined to make sure that the competition that is promoted through Racing Unleashed is nothing other than completely fair. And that's why so many discussions are going on as we speak. You can see some of the members. There is Devin Isgro to the very right-hand side of your picture. He's out of his simulator and taking a look at everything that's going on as David Ladamada chooses an altogether different sort of relaxation regime after the race. So Carl Wendling are very much involved in the discussions that are going on and the analysis of the places. And there once again is Devin Isgro, who takes a look, and all the drivers very respectful to race control. They don't steam in and start making protests and offering their opinions just when they're not needed. The race control panel are left to their own devices to judge as appropriate, and quite rightly so. So as I said, I have nothing but the utmost respect for our race control team. Goodness me, I wouldn't want to do it. And they take a look at absolutely everything and ensure that it is all dealt with completely fairly. And they continue their deliberations right now. As I said, we are being told that the entire P1, 2, 3 positions are under investigation at the moment. So as soon as we can bring you any information from race control, we will bring that to you. Of course, you're always going to hear about it here first. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, we have another race to come before we conclude our championship for 2022. That takes place in Imola in Italy, and as if by magic, I'm heading off to Imola next week. So that will be the scene of our final race in our championship, but not the final event. This is the grand final at Imola then. 12th of November at 10:50 a.m. for our Challenger League drivers. And then on the 13th of November at 10:50 a.m. for our Racer League drivers. So please diarise those dates and make sure you join us. And check out the Racing Unleashed Championship for 2022 as it goes beyond the Pinnacle and completes in the grand final at Imola down there, around about 35 minutes or so from Bologna, and sits there almost on the Rimini coast. Prize money, then, it's a big prize fund this year in 2022 for Racing Unleashed across both Challenger League and Racer League. In excess of 200,000 Swiss francs up for grabs. And there you can see the amount of money that can be banked today from taking the win. It's $3.5 grand, 2,500, 1,500 for P3. So those podium positions are absolutely critical, not only in terms of points gained, but also in terms of the money that you can earn. And the Battle for Glory, that non-championship event, also carrying a very big prize fund indeed, which take P1 in the Battle for Glory. If you're a Challenger driver, you're going to have $1,000 in your hand. And if you're a Race League driver, it's 7,000 Swiss francs for taking P1. So big money. Battle for Glory. everyone asks me, where are we racing the Battle for Glory? I really, genuinely do not know. It's a secret track, and it hasn't been revealed to me. If it had been revealed to me, you could rely on me to tell you. Unfortunately, I can't, because I do not know. But it is on December the 11th. That will be the final event from Racing Unleashed for 2022. But of course, plans in prospect already for our season in 2023, which going to be even bigger and better than 2022, and 2022 has been a fantastic season. So there's Javier Loro. There you can see, sat in the cockpit like us, awaiting news from race control. So Javier Loro, from what I saw of Javier, I don't think anything was going on that would potentially affect his position, but we know not, I should say. So Javier Loro then still inside the simulator, awaiting the fate and the news of our race control panel, who are investigating absolutely everything as we speak. Drivers there you can see just relaxing on the right hand side of your screen, and that all our lounges are together, of course, for these races. And there you can see, this is in Madrid, I believe, our Formula Hybrid X Evo 2022 simulators. Headphones going on. Is that Alejandro getting in? Goodness me. Slightly concerned that I knew it was Alejandro Sanchez from his legs. And it was. And it is Alejandro Sanchez that gets in back into the back into his simulator. So he too, of course, is awaiting news from race control as well. Wojciech Polesny, as you can see, is on his telephone, doubtless, and there is Yannick Vonenberg, who presumably will be disappointed with how the race fared for him. Of course, he started in pole position, and regrettably, if my memory serves me, I think finishing in P8, so in the points, but certainly not where his pace in terms of qualifying would suggest that we thought that we would see him. There we are. It's the beauty of motor racing, which of course can be so brutal at the same time. And that simulator that we're looking at there, beautiful colour. Of course, part of the package for 2022 was completely new liveries for our Formula Hybrid and Evo X 2022 cars. Love the liveries on the cars, and this is live. This is absolutely live as our race direction team look at all the incidents that went on during the course of our Racer League race to judge as to whether anyone is at fault. And you can see there that they can rewind all the action. They have access to so many different cameras, so many different camera angles, and of course access to all the data that is available to them as well. They take a look at absolutely everything and see it from all different sides, so the decisions that they make are always very, very well informed, and further informed by this man, Mr. Carl Wendlinger, who is one of our ambassadors and acts very much as a driver representative on the race control team. He sees things from a racing driver's perspective. Of course, Carl has had so much success in a glittering motor racing career and is now very much helping some of our young emerging talents across the Challenger League and the Racer League, and there is no wiser pair of hands to have at the helm than one Mr. Carl Wendlinger. So there they are, continuing to take a look at everything, and the minute any information is utterly confirmed, and we don't bring you that information until it is confirmed, as David Ladamada is celebrating down there. Perhaps he knows something that we don't, as Mikael Smedel then it gets back into his simulator, and we await news and we await judgment from our race control panel, as indeed do our drivers, Javier Loro and Alejandro Sanchez and Mikael Smedel. The podium awaits, of course, and we will see now to the right hand side of your screen. That is precisely where Mikael Smedel was inside the simulator. Wojciech Polesny is continuing his WhatsApp conversation, and other drivers in somewhat states of undress to the right-hand side of your screen. The podium awaits right at the back of the room, as you can see. So, still the team are taking a look at all the incidents. I think it was Mark Gasner there was putting a sweater on following his racing apparel that was used during the course of the race. And a reminder to you that from here we head off to Imola in Italy for our final round of our championship year. And what a year it has been. And so many stunning circuits that we have raced at in the program this year. It's been a phenomenal season. It's not over yet because, as I say, we're still got Imola to go to, but the calendar this year was really shaped very, very well. Okay, let's bring you the provisional result, and I urge the caution of the word provisional because it is provisional. The provisional result being Alejandro Sanchez taking the win from Mikel Smeedel and Javier Loro. Then it was Enrique Marinon and Christoph Holstein, Jan Teufel P6, Mark Gasner P7, Fabio Vettica P8, Loris Mistretta P9 and Wojciech Polesny taking P10. Provisional only. Yannick Vonenberg finishing lower down the order than I recalled. It's P11 for Yannick Vonenberg. Angelo Michel, of course, in his quest to go forward, ended up going backwards to P12. Florian Hasser, P13. Kevin Aby, P14. David Ladamada and Devin Isgro, P15 and P16 respectively. That is very much the provisional result. It is not the confirmed and the result that will be cemented in concrete. Unfortunately, it is merely the provisional result at the moment. As soon as we can bring you information with regards to confirmation, that will be brought to you. You will hear it before anybody else, literally. As soon as we know, you will know. But at the moment, it is still under the investigation of our race director. So, of course, when it came to our right at the beginning of the season this year, we started on this circuit with our prologue. It was at the Zurich Airport circuit before we headed off for race 1, which was in Austria, the Red Bull Ring, and then Nürburgring for race 2. Then it was Monza and Mugello, 2 Italian circuits then that formed the second and third formal races in our calendar. Then Brands Hatch in the UK, forming the first part of a 2 UK date event with Brands Hatch and Silverstone following. Then it was Spa-Francorchamps before Barcelona last time out. And of course, here we are once again at the Zurich Airport circuit before heading off to Imola for our final event in the championship, but not the final event of our season, because we still have the non-championship Battle for Glory event on the 11th of December at a venue yet to be confirmed. Yet to be confirmed. I know not where. Secret location. And it's a... You know what? In motorsport, there are many secrets, and some of them are more guarded than others, it has to be said. But that is one that has been closely guarded, and certainly, despite my best efforts at infiltration, I've not been able to find out where it is. And I have tried, trust me. But I do not know, so there we are. Oh, look, my name in lights. That's a first, and it's spelled correctly. Of course, I've been here privileged for most of the season. When I've not been here, it's been my colleague Matthew Duffin that's been bringing the race action when I've been elsewhere. And I know Matthew is enthused about Racing Unleashed, as indeed I am. And we've really, really enjoyed it, and so looking forward to the grand final to come in Imola. Now, to the right of the top right-hand side of your screen were all the social media symbols. We'd love you to be part of the social media family for Racing Unleashed. And however you choose to use your social media, then there is an avenue for you to be part of it. The back end of Dave Latamada to the left-hand side of your screen, and the back end of Devin Isgro, who turns around as we take another look at race control here as they consider and continue their deliberations in terms of track limits and slight touches between drivers and cars that went on during the course of that race. And I have to be honest with you that the Zurich Airport circuit really, I have to say, it can always be quite contentious because it is such a fast circuit, but with so many turns. there is lots of opportunity for things to go wrong, and for little touches here and there. You can see David Latimer and Devin Isgrove both pretty chipper and cheerful about it, but of course they are much further down the order than they would like to be, and one can only assume that they're not forming part of the adjudication panel in terms of any penalties that might be afforded. So there is Devin Isgrove, charming young man. He's really good fun to talk to, and a really talented young driver as well. He's really receiving plenty of focus in our program today. So well done to Devin Isgrove, great lad. And there you can see yet another incident is being looked at the moment by our race control panel. You can see that they've got 8 monitors available to them. 3 of them are used for footage, and the other 5 are used for data analysis, because of course there is so much data carried by all the cars, and we were hearing about how critical data is and how important it is when we heard from Monisha Coltonborn, our Chief Executive Officer, earlier on, who was alluding to that new partnership we have with the university, looking at cognitive research and all sorts of other things, which of course is all data driven, and using our simulators to benefit that. So lots and lots of work going on behind the scenes with Racing Unleashed as well. And of course Ralph Muller is our Chief Fitness Officer, and he works with a lot of our drivers. And there is Javier Loro having a discussion, as you can see, as he patiently waits inside his simulator for the latest information to be brought to us by Race Control. And as soon as we do that, we might be given the opportunity to speak to Javier Loro. Who knows? Mikael Smeedel is the same. He has his phone at hand, and one assumes that he is inside the simulator barefoot, because it looks to me like his training shoes are to the left-hand side, or his racing boots to the left-hand side of the simulator. And there we can see discussions going on in other lounges around our network of lounges. And Mikael Smeedel then to the bottom right-hand side of your picture. And we go back live to our lounge here in Kemptal, where our stewarding panel continue to look at incidents during the course of that race on the Zurich Airport circuit. So this is a great location, and actually I would urge you, if you are in the area, to any one of our lounges. You'd be very welcome to come and spectate at one of our Racing Unleashed events, because it is it's a really great thing to watch, because you actually see the drivers inside the simulators, and it's really good, whether you're in Kemptal or near Kemptal, or near Calm, or near Munich, or near Madrid, or any of our lounges, then please feel free to come and join us on a race weekend and spectate and enjoy seeing the action unfold live, if you will. And we continue to look at Race Control as they maintain their deliberations over what is and what were many incidents during the course of that race before getting final confirmation of the result. As you know, we've had the provisional result, but it does remain provisional. So as we are taking so long with our investigations, we are going to do our interviews with the P1, 2 and 3 on the basis that they are provisional. So Javier Loro in Madrid. Javier has been patiently waiting inside his simulator to Race Control are still deliberating, Javier, and therefore at the moment we don't know which way it's going to go, whether there are going to be changes. Give us your impressions of the race and where you finished, Javier.
It had been a really good race, a really calm race from my part. I mean, I didn't did anything. Just only wait for crashes or something else. But yeah, really pleased with my position.
Yeah, and to be fair, Javier, we saw a lot of you in our program, and yes, I don't think there was anything, from my point of view, what I could see, I didn't see anything that you were involved in that were contentious. I hope that you manage to hold on to that position that you do in Madrid, because it would be richly deserved. Just before we lose you, that Zurich Airport circuit, yeah, that's a really a tricky circuit to nail, isn't it, Javier?
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult to stay behind someone. I mean, you can, but in some turns, you lost a bit the rear end, but that's why sometimes it's really difficult to approach to a car and then to overtake it. You know, it's you need to think it well and be patient, and don't do any risky moves, because at the minimum you can be out of the track.
Great to talk to you, Javier. Many congratulations to you. Provisionally P3. So Javier Loro then talking to us live from Madrid. Really appreciate that. And he sharing his view on the Zurich Airport circuit. Now, earlier on in the race, I said that Michael Schmidl, knitting is not one of his hobbies, but there was one particular move, Michael Schmidl, where you went through the middle of two cars, and it was like you were knitting the finest woolen jumper. It was a brilliant move. Once again, we have seen just your prowess as a racing driver. Provisionally P2, and I have to say provisionally because the race steward panel are still investigating, but even you, as good as you are, surely P2 is, that must be a heck of an achievement given where you started.
Well, first of all, that overtaking maneuver was pretty lovely. I was kind of scared when I went to the middle. I was like, yeah, I'm going to probably die here, but I still went to it. But on the other hand, P2 is a decent result. I mean, I was stuck in the first corner when there were cars. Then Sanchez killed me in the fast section. I was doing 360s there, had like 300 temperature on the tires, and then I have seen the incident in the last lap, and I'm 100% sure that Sanchez is going to get some penalties, and I'm 100% sure I'm the winner.
Well,
because I was incident free the whole race, so it should be okay.
Well, obviously we can't preempt what race control are going to say, but that's it from your impression. Absolutely awesome. I want to ask you, you have to go into this with a mindset that wherever you're starting, whatever problems that occur during the course of the race, what I admire about many, many racing drivers, and you in particular, is, you've got such stiff resolve. Even when things are not going your way, you're still absolutely determined. That's a crucial factor in terms of being a winner, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you are definitely correct, but to be honest, after the knockout race, I was devastated. I mean, I had literally like no mood and was mad as well. But I told myself, yeah, just go for P5 at least, and in the end, it was even better. So, I mean, like Michael Schumacher said, once in a time, if there is even like the slightest chance, just go for it. Never ever give up.
As always, you give us great entertainment. My last question to you, Mikkel, are they your race boots to the right hand side of your simulator there? Have you got your stinky feet, bare feet in the simulator?
Yeah, I'm just trying, man. that is actually a good question, but I am old school sim race, so I'm just using my socks, mate. because otherwise I couldn't even fit into the simulators with the shoes there.
It's lovely to talk to you. Always great, and thank you for your honesty and your kindness in talking to us, Michael Schmidl. Then he, of course, is in our lounge in Munich today, and he has provisionally taken P2. In his opinion, he's going to be on the top step of the podium. We wait to see. Because, of course, race control is still looking at, and what we're doing is giving you the interviews that we can on a provisional basis. And on that provisional basis, let's go to Madrid right now, where the sun is shining as it always does, and it shines down on Alejandro Sanchez. He is such a talent. Alejandro, I have to say, provisionally P1. There were lots of incidents in that race, but the Zurich Airport circuit almost promotes incidents because it is such a tricky circuit, isn't it, Alejandro?
Yeah, T1 was really tricky because I got hit from the side and I started running wide and running to kick, I think it was, and yeah, couldn't do really anything. But then on the last lap, I think it was Gassner. I moved to the inside, and then he reacted, and he spun and started spinning and spinning and spinning. so we made contact. Yeah, I don't really consider any of those my fault, but maybe they were in things otherwise. But yeah, overall, relatively happy with the result.
Of course, and the provisional result as it is at the moment. Now, it's a brand new lounge in Madrid, isn't it? And Alejandro, from somebody that comes to the lounge from a social point of view, because quite clearly I have no talent when it comes to racing. How comfortable is the lounge? Is it a really nice place to be, Alejandro?
I'm really only here with one objective, and that one objective is to be fast and win. So, but yeah, it's quite nice. There's more people around. It's like a restaurant, so it's more social environment, warmer environment as well, because the decoration is different. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. Relatively the same distance from my house as well, so everything's relatively the same for me.
Oh, well, brilliant stuff. Listen, lovely to talk to you, Alejandro. And yeah, at the moment, provisional congratulations to you for P1. Let's see what happens. Alejandro Sanchez in Madrid, thank you for talking to us. So we've talked to our top 3 drivers on a provisional basis, and Alejandro Sanchez on the top step of that podium provisionally. Michael Smeedel had slightly different views on that, and we will see. There were lots of incidents, and that's why race controller, of course, taking a look at everything. Alejandro Sanchez will make his way out of the simulator now, and I forgot to ask him about the tea provision at the Madrid lounge, which I have to say is plentiful here in Kemptal. We are very, very well looked after, and every one of our lounges, and go and have a go, because they are really hospitable places, and you're made to feel very comfortable and very, very nice. Wow, I am hearing about a podium, and it's different to the one that we perhaps expected, and I think I'm going to get it repeated to me in my ears, because I forgot the P3. I think it was going to be it's going to be different to the podium that we expected to see, and I think here it is. It's Enrique Maranon P3, Javier Loro P2, and Michael Smeedel P1. He was confident when we spoke to him that that's the way it was going to go. Alejandro Sanchez picking up quite some penalty, because our podium, as you can see, is Michael Smeedel P1, Javier Loro P2, Enrique Maranon P3. So that's the very latest information that we have. You're seeing it on screen literally as the information was being fed to me. And also in Madrid, and we're going to check in now with Enrique Maranon. Good afternoon, Enrique, in our new lounge in Madrid. P3, friend, congratulations.
Thank you.
That was a heck of a race. It was a race of attrition with so much going on. I mean, just keeping your nose clean and keeping the car in a straight line, that was a tall order, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, on the first lap, for example, I was last, because I think that Sanchez crashed into me. And then from last to P3 is a really amazing race.
It just proves the point that you've just got to keep it going, because as we say in the UK, the race isn't over until the fat lady sings. That, of course, means when the checkered flag comes, because, whatever happens right at the start of the race, you've got to keep going, Enrique, because look at the position that you're in now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, many congratulations. And here is your trophy being presented to you right now. Many congratulations formally. That's it. You make it look loud and proud. Congratulations to Enrique Maranon taking P3. Well done to you, friend.
Thank you very much.
So he is in Madrid. He receives our P3 trophy. And now, careful you don't knock into that trophy as you get out of the simulator, Enrique. He holds on to that very well, and make sure he doesn't damage that. And now P2, here's Javier Loro, who's got a fit of laughter at the moment, and he is awarded with his podium trophy. It's P2 for Javier Loro. Many congratulations to Javier Loro. As I say, he was in a fit of laughter as he took to step 2 of the podium. And we await then Michael Smeedel to steady, Michael. Top step of the podium is P1. He said he thought that was the way it was going to go. It's another win for Michael Smeedel, P1. He was convinced he was going to get that with a penalty for Alejandro Sanchez, and sure enough he does. Michael Smeedel takes another race win. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Thanks to all the drivers for talking to us in really, really difficult circumstances. Look at the legs on Wojciech Bolesny as he walks up the lounge. Listen, we're going to be racing in Imola next. Thank you so much for being with us. And, you watching is really, really important. Thanks to all the drivers. Thanks to the production team. We've had a blast. And we look forward to seeing you in Imola. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is Racing Unleashed Beyond the Pinnacle.
Hold on to your hats. We are on the grid. Who is going to be king of the late breakers? Excellent onboard shot. Michael Spiedel is throwing absolutely everything at this, including the kitchen sink.
And he is a fighter, a warrior. And look at this! Look at this!
Unglaublich!
¡Wow! ¡Qué pelea!
I'm loving this.
Take your hat off and give him a bow. He's already in the lead and now he can sail off into the sunset.
This is Racing Unleashed.